How's it going, everyone? And welcome to. I had to reinstall the entire video game on YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Still.
Infinarian.
And Volacel, what's left of him?
What's with the sudden lack of energy, by the way?
It's not a sudden lack of energy. It's just that I have not been feeling very good today. That's all.
Yeah, now I was more
and-
referring to Ari. He was fine right before the show.
Oh,
well,
because
it's because of he is role playing effectively because his character is passed out drunk on a table.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm not in Monster Hunter because my time is limited and I can't afford to get invested in the Huntons. So sad. I haven't actually played the new patch yet.
yeah, today was the first day I got to play it, because it broke. Could not even launch the game.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble when I installed it as well. I so far had been relatively fortunate with the likes of crashes and so on and so forth, but after installing the patch, it immediately crashed, and then for the first several startups after that, frame rate was incredibly low. It seems to have somehow equilibrated at this point, but it was really, really rough after installing. I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, something went horribly wrong. After reinstalling it, I was able to boot the game at least and could get into the squad lobby, and then that was a couple days ago when I got it working, and then I tried to get on today, and I had to punch through a whole bunch of crash report errors with Capcom apologizing to me every time until it finally let me through.
They are sorry for the inconvenience, Aristeele.
They are.
I'm not sorry enough.
Not sorry enough to fix the game. Capcom, we love you, but, get your act together.
But yeah, new Monster Hunter patch is out. Since Fern hasn't played it yet, we'll wait till he catches up to. Really, well, me and Vol will probably be playing it on the show, so you'll see it then. But
yes,
we've only just poked at it. I think.
And Bubble Dragon.
Well, there's Bubble Snake and there's a big Dargon. And is Tempered, Arch Tempered, what's his face out yet, or is he coming next week?
No, he's coming. I don't know if it's next week. I think it might be out. I think it comes. The next thing that will drop will be the new festival, the Spring Festival, and then Arc Tempered Raid Hours after that.
Okay.
Like I think it's gonna be like every week there's gonna be another thing drop. So next week I can't remember if there's anything next week or if the Spring Festival is next week. I think for Spring Festival might be the end of next week, and then after that is Arch Tempered Raid Hour. I think.
Yeah, so they're getting a pretty good pace for the content going.
Yeah. It looks like the current event quest that is available for this week is one that gives bonus hunter rank. So this is clearly for bootstrapping people so that they can fight Arch Tempered Raid Hour and Uzoshia, which both have a minimum requirement of 50, and Mezitsune minimum requirement 21, Tempered Mezitsune minimum requirement 41.
So yeah, we'll talk a bit about that, and I guess in our weeks though. We're doing things a bit out of whack though, because Fern's got to leave, and Fern wants to be here to cover the Nintendo news, and he's the one that's got all the notes on it. So we're gonna start with all Fern. Yep, all Fern.
So yeah, Nintendo did the big announce for the Switch 2 like they promised to, and the internet exploded, and not necessarily in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like part of that is that the internet is spastic, but part of that I feel like is that Nintendo's messaging is just as bad as it's always been.
It's a recurring theme that is going to come up, and it has come up. If you read my notes, it's like, what's this thing? Nintendo didn't tell us. And that's, yeah, Nintendo didn't tell us a lot of things. Some of which they've rectified over the time. Some of which has come out of the press events because people specifically ask questions. And other stuff we still simply just don't know. Like, Joy-Con drift. We don't know.
Oh, that'll depend on the type of hardware they use for the joysticks. I know I did not use the Switch Joy-Cons hardly at all, so mine never drifted. Um, but
Yeah, I pretty much dropped it for my Pro controller as soon as I had the option to do so.
yeah, the
Yeah.
form I do not like the form factor on the base Switch controllers at all.
They are made for people with tiny little baby hands.
Yeah, I am 6
I
foot.
have relatively small hands, so I was able to use it, but I'm here to tell you it's still not very comfortable.
Nah,
Yeah,
they're not great.
I have big gorilla hands. Them things was turbo uncomfortable. The Pro controller, however, is nice and girthy.
Aristiel is the person that the original Xbox controller was designed for.
Yeah,
Oh,
The one that was
two
like holding a
potatoes
pair
you
of
put together.
potatoes. But they had
Yes.
to invent a totally new SKU because nobody outside America could use them.
Yes. People with giant ape hands.
yeah. So I never got to experience the wonders of the Joy-Con drift on the Switch. The Pro controller, however, was incredibly well put together on the first Switch, and I still have the original Pro controller. Never had to replace it for the entire
Likewise.
lifetime of the Switch.
Yep.
I've used it as a fallback controller a few times. I cannot use it for fighting games or for action games because you cannot claw grip the dumb thing, and its D-pad is not where my muscle memory is for fighting games.
Yeah.
You need a PlayStation style controller to do a proper left-handed claw grip. But I've used it as an emergency replacement when I've had my only controller back when I was poorer go dead, and it works fine.
Yep. All right, so let's go over this thing. They did a big announcement, basically trying to go through as much detail as possible, as quickly as possible, but yeah, when you do that, you're gonna miss some things. So we'll start off with what the thing actually is and how it's different from the original Switch. The main difference, at least on the surface, is it's bigger. 7.9-inch screen over the 6.2 one, but form factor otherwise is unchanged. That includes the Joy-Cons, by the way. They are still the same shape.
Yeah.
The biggest changes we've got on the Joy-Cons themselves are they're going to make the joysticks bigger and quieter and more responsive. The L and R buttons on the Joy-Con also double up as the magnets that actually hold the thing onto the console in the first place.
That seems
so
dangerous.
They are bigger. They're going to be sturdy, if nothing else.
I mean, I can imagine very easily a scenario where this turns into double clicking.
Yeah. But honestly, if you're using those buttons, you're doing it wrong in the first place, because I can't think of anyone ever using the sideways profile. It probably is more practical for people with small children, but for people with grown-up hands, they are seriously uncomfortable. Also, a lot of games aren't compatible with holding your controller that way, so it's kind of a moot point anyway.
Yeah.
I'm still showing Quest.
Yep. I'm just going to go down the list as I've got them noted here. The stand is not useless now.
Does it actually have more than like one base setting on it?
Yes, it's got
The
various.
stand was so silly. Yeah. Like it's just a tiny little plastic flat before.
Yeah. If someone had
on
just
one
said,
side, no less.
Yeah. If someone had just said, no, that's not a stand, that's just there to cover the SD slot, I would completely believe that. Because that's about all it was good for. It was useless.
Are you still in my link party?
Well, I've had the departure window open for the last 5 minutes. I don't know if the link party broke up by magic somehow.
Oh, it was probably because we joined in the middle of this fucking story quest. Broke. I'll let you re-invite to link party. You know where it is in the menu.
Yeah. Where was I next? Joy-Cons can both be used as mice, and you can and will in some games dual wield them. This is one of the big new things. Honestly, they look really uncomfortable to wield that way. Because they're not laying flat, they are vertical, and which makes them very skinny mice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand the concept.
I think it's something that seemed like a good idea, and then they've kind of tried to make it work after that. Like, I can see cases where a console is going to want a mouse. Like, there's all sorts of things you can do with that. But they just don't look practical to be used like that. And again, I think a lot of that does come down to comfort. Because those things, the buttons are on the side, and possibly the R button on top might work
It looks
as
like
a click.
it looks like where they showed their index finger resting. That's top. That's a click.
That's a click. Okay. So, yeah, like it's one of those things that's there, and if when I eventually get one, I'm not going to get one at launch. I don't think it's a feature I'll ever use.
Yeah, if I want to play a game with a mouse that requires a mouse, I'm gonna...
Yeah. And that's basically what it comes down to. Is if I need a mouse, I'll just play it on the PC or use the PC.
Goody.
All right. They've added a new USB-C port to the top, which we already knew about. That port is, as it turns out, fully functional. So you can actually charge your console through that port.
Just for charging, or is it also allow data transfer?
Data transfer as well. It is a fully functional port, which is good because anyone who's tried to use or charge the original Switch in tabletop modes knows that is impossible. Yeah, having the slot on the bottom, it's just doesn't work for that sort of use case. I think they actually learned that lesson kind of with the 3DS as well, because sitting in certain positions while trying to charge the 3DS at the the original DS, sorry, I should say, also didn't work because the charge was on the bottom.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's good at least. Internal storage, 256 gigabytes. Expandable with micro SD EX cards, not base micro SDs. I think that someone mentioned somewhere that if you put a standard micro SD in it, you can get pictures off it, and that's about it.
Why can't they just like do compatibility ever?
Because they're Nintendo.
Because then they can't charge you extra money for wacky peripherals and first party garbage.
Well, they can, and people will still pay it.
Yes.
But they might actually make some console sales from people who rebel over this type of thing.
Yeah, I can see them making it fully compatible with the EX cards. That just makes sense. Unless there's a serious technical reason behind it, I'm not sure why you can't just use a standard SD card and deal with slower loading times. So that's one of the things that people are getting up in arms about because they're the internet and the internet's going to turbospurg. Honestly, it's not a deal breaker. It's just inconvenient. Because standard SD cards at the moment are cheap and plentiful.
Yeah.
Come to think of it, I will need to just quickly ask my local Harvey Norman store because I can guarantee that they will price gouge. Let's see, Harvey Norman, micro SD. I should be looking at JB Hi-Fi because they don't price gouge.
Don't they?
As much.
I mean, nobody price gouges the way Harvey Norman price gouges, but...
No, that's right. Let's see, micro SD EX cards. Do they have EX cards?
I'm pretty sure all of the DSEs in New Zealand got bought out by JB.
Probably. Although DSE, even though they went completely bankrupt and disappeared, are now just an online store.
The worse, they're like an online grey market.
Yeah, they are.
They sell like weird stuff that I would normally buy on eBay.
Yeah, it's just every time you mention it, though, some people just say, "Oh, wait, they exist." I'm not
hit me with a boulder.
actually seeing EX micro SDs available in Australia, so that's an issue. I might have to go on to Amazon or something and find them on there. Let's see.
Didn't DSC try and get into the beetroot business or something weird like that?
Or something. Anyway. Oh, hang a minute. XCs, HCs. Yeah, here they are. Price isn't a whole lot different. So, honestly, it's an inconvenience and that's it. Although the Express SD cards do go up to a higher capacity, so that's when the price starts creeping in. All right. Where was I? Full 4K support for people who hate their wallets, I guess. Although, honestly, 4K support isn't the what the fuck it used to be.
I mean,
That's significantly dropped in price now.
But are we talking? Are they going to like perform at 4K, or are we talking aiming to perform at 4K? Because those are not the same thing.
we're talking like the low graphical fidelity Nintendo first-party titles will be able to do 4K. Like, I guarantee it.
Well,
Like
they've
Mario.
got hands-on results from the press demos, and they've got Metroid Prime 4 at 60 FPS at 4K.
I'll believe it when I see it.
The catch there, though, is of course that is a first-party title as well. So I know it's not such an issue. It hasn't been on past consoles, but this is Nintendo, and they do tend to love the past. In the past, like the manufacturer has always been able to get more out of the console than a third-party developer has. So we'll wait and see on that one. And there is, of course, that this is the press demo, not the actual game. New Patrol controller. Yes, the new Pro controller. It's the old Pro controller. That's it. It's got the new share button on it, and that's it. I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Honestly,
You mean the chat button?
the chat button.
This thing.
Let's get into the chat button. Aside from the serious cringe that was going on during the presser.
Tails off.
Because let's sell games, a service to gamers by using fake actors. Really, just cringe.
Who does that
Honestly,
work on?
you mean?
You would be surprised how gullible the normie is.
Yeah, true. People who just don't care will be bought by the cringe. Yes, Anthem is probably the prime example of that. Ugh.
I feel bad for Anthem because
I really do.
There's definitely a game in there somewhere, and if it hadn't been constantly meddled with, maybe we would have seen it.
And if they'd given it to the right studio in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the studio was poorly suited to it, but it's not like they couldn't have delivered in the end if they had been allowed to take their time working on something that's actually relevant.
And so, yeah, if they'd been allowed to, build the project and kind of make it their own, I think it would have been great. Because, yeah, BioWare doesn't typically do that sort of game. But, well, they don't do that regular sort of game anymore, if Veilguard's any indication.
They do games?
Allegedly.
I thought they just gave lectures.
Yeah, that's BioWare of today. Oh, God. Anyway, so yeah, the chat feature is basically Discord Nintendo Edition. You can share games, you can stream, you can plug in the new camera peripheral and pretend you're a streamer.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'd rather just use Discord.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it takes a lot of faff to stream a Nintendo game through Discord. I've done it, but it took a lot of faff and not a small amount of searching for streaming components that were not made by, completely overpriced Elgato products
Ugh.
or sketchy internal capture cards. But yeah, I suppose there is probably a market for this, and some people will use it. I am not one of those people.
Everybody's got to be the new. No, PewDiePie's old school now.
Yeah. This isn't the first time Nintendo's tried this. Remember they did, I forget what they actually called it, the Wii social network. It was, well, basically it was for people to share very suspect fan art in the end.
Oh, the homepage on the Wii U or whatever.
Yes. Which was hilarious when the filter failed and you turn on your Wii and suddenly here was a topless Princess Peach drawn on your screen.
Yeah,
And you had no control of it.
that thing had a filter that worked. I saw it anyway.
Yeah. Well, half of that stuff got filtered out automatically, but the other half, some poor fella in the Nintendo head office probably had to sit there and sort it. That person occasionally, I think, drank themselves into a stupor and just passed out. That poor person. But yeah, this at least doesn't have... No, hang on. I'm going to stop right there because that is not true. Because Twitch has proved that thoughts are forever. Thankfully, though, it is all private chat rooms and all of that, so there's no just open it up for everyone that I can see. There might be an option later where it plugs into Twitch or something that lets you do that.
Fortune to HUD.
But yeah, it is a feature that is not for me. I will never use it. All
Rough fell
right,
over again.
Stop bullying Jinder hard. What did he ever do to you?
It's not our
He
fault.
breathed on me.
But he keeps your 4080 kill. Because somebody's
If
got
I
to.
had one.
You're not missing much, honestly. Overpriced. Okay. That's the big hardware bits. Actually, let me skim down. I might as well just keep all the hardware stuff going. So, from the press tours and various other bits and pieces they've dug out, we know what the main chip is at this point, which is a Tegra 239.
Whatever that means.
It's one of NVIDIA's fancy schmancy newer chips. It's also running DDR5, 12 gigabytes worth of RAM. Grunt-wise, then, that puts it maybe a little bit above the Steam Deck, which is what everyone's comparing it to.
Well, I mean, that's a logical comparison in terms of use cases.
Especially when you take the price into account, yes.
Yeah,
price-wise, they are roughly equal.
There was, for a long time, the logic was that, oh, well, the Steam Deck will never really replace consoles because consoles are so much cheaper than the Steam Deck.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so much for that.
So much for that. So really, you've got the Switch 2 does have a direct competitor, which is the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck, honestly, has a beat in terms of flexibility. You can do all sorts of stuff on the Steam Deck. You can emulate, you can take advantage of Steam sales, all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, you get a Steam Deck, you know precisely that the games you're interested in will be going on sale at some point. and you'll be able to get them for
Yeah.
relatively cheap. With the new
We're going
one,
to circle back to that. Nintendo, why? So yeah,
Yeah, I was under the impression they liked money, but I'm not really
they
so sure
love
anymore.
money. They want as much of it as they possibly can get. So yeah, it's a bit gruntier than the Steam Deck, but yeah, Steam Deck is more flexible, so you'd go that route. That's about it. The one of the big issues that has of course come up is going to be Joy-Con drift. And Nintendo was evasive on that one. So I get that the people at these press events just get a brief and they read the brief and that's basically it. But this is something that should have been on that brief because people were going to ask about it. So you've got several cases of people and journalists I say journalists because they're games journalists after all, asking directly about the Joy-Con drift, and they couldn't answer or wouldn't answer. So that's one of the big things that really let the original Switch down is that drift and the constant replacing of the Joy-Cons. And yeah, they haven't addressed it, at least not directly. All right.
no, I don't expect them to if they haven't done anything major
Well,
that can
to
fix it.
some extent, they can't say anything about drift because if they were to do so, then they would be on the hook for having solved it.
Yeah.
So it makes more commercial sense for them to pretend that there's no problem
and just have the problem solved or not solved.
I mean, ideally, you would solve the problem and never mention it. But
Yep.
there is just one of those actuarial calculations that you can make. How much are we spending on, like, controller RMA? And how much would it cost us to completely replace the technology in our Joy-Con component stock with, like, Hall Effect joysticks or whatever? Like, there's a calculation that you can do there, and if the number comes out positive on doing nothing to solve the problem, then they will do nothing to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the results basically people asking was, yes, they have completely redesigned the Joy-Cons and all of that, but they didn't mention Hall Effect or anything like that. So this is going to be one of those things where no one's really going to know until someone gets their hands on one and tears it apart. All right. Games wise, okay, they had some good showings there. So let's start with the cringe first, which is Dragon Drive. They needed a tech demo for the mouse, so you've got wheelchair basketball.
But
I mean,
why?
because you need two mouses to play that game. Mouses, mices,
Pieces,
mice.
pieces,
I mean,
pieces.
yeah. I mean, no shade at the wheelchair basketball people in real life because those people are insane. But just some of the stuff those people do, holy crap. But yeah, it doesn't look honestly like a particularly interesting game. It looks like a crappier version of Rocket League. Except played with really
certain
awkward
games
controls.
don't need to be fun.
Oh, right, they need to be correct. All right. The big one, of course, is Mario Kart World Tour, which is open world Mario Kart.
I mean, it looked okay from the
It
trailer.
looks okay.
Like if my friends were playing that, yeah, I could go a few rounds. I could scoop it, even at launch.
I've always liked Mario Kart because it's just one of those games you just pick up, play with some friends, lose said friends, and it's a good time had by almost nobody.
Mario Kart isn't as bad as Mario Party because
Mario Party results in homicides.
in Mario Kart, there's the understanding of, oh, I'm in the lead. I'm gonna get blue shelled.
Yeah, if you're in first place, you're in last place.
Yeah, it's ever since I can remember, because I didn't play on the Super Nintendo, but I played Mario Kart 64, and the logic was always you should always stay just behind in second with a way to seize first at the last lap, the end of the
Yes.
last lap.
Like
Yeah.
getting Mario Karted on just happens in Mario Kart, and it's relatively impersonal because you can't determine what items you get. In Mario Party, however, there is an element of targeting.
Yes. Sometimes it's Bowser doing it. Other times it's players. And you can't always blame old Bowser because he's just going to screw everyone. And he's actually, in the long run, the AI and Bowser is fairly even-handed with how he screws people.
But you only play for one game on one evening once in a blue moon, and somebody gets persecuted by either somebody or the computer in general.
So yeah, you tend to spend the evening, you play one round of Mario Kart and spend the rest of the evening hiding the body. It's fine. Mario Party, I should say.
But yeah, the new Mario Kart looked good. Yeah, I could pay even upwards of $60 for that if my friends were all playing it.
Yeah, they've got a lot of characters on the map now. I think they said it goes up to 32 characters on a track at a time, which means their roster is huge now.
You'll notice
they were scraping the bottom of the barrel just to fill out the numbers.
Yeah.
So you can now play as a random cow, or a random crab, or a cheap.
Yeah. You notice I mentioned a price point that I would pay for this game.
We're getting there.
Just want to keep that foreshadowing going.
Yeah, because that's going to be rants.
Still, did you not get an invite?
It's loading. I'm in the black screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually notify me whether or not you get it. Not until you're actually here. When you're actually here, then it will help.
Come on, Capcom, sort it out.
I'm here now.
They won't sort it out.
That means it's only 1,000 units away.
Just go to the camp at the top of the map.
Yeah.
That's Earth-Duna one.
That's too hard. Second, go.
Wilds has made you lazy.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help that your camps are different from mine.
That's kind of weird, yeah.
Everybody has the Earth-Duna one, though, right?
I might have put one up there. I don't know.
I haven't honestly bothered with camps. I just walk. It doesn't take that long, honestly.
I plunk them down at random numbers at the little generator, or the little hub for managing your camps. I don't think I've ever opened the map to look for where those camps are, though.
So yeah, where were we? Mario Kart World actually looks good and fun. Elden Ring Tarnished Edition. It's actually, I honestly couldn't tell from the trailer if it includes the DLC or not, the expansion.
Past FromSoft games, when they re-release, do include the DLC, even as much as a year out. It might.
Yep.
The caveat with this one is Shadow of the Erdtree is so huge, they may make an exemption.
Yeah. So everything I saw in that trailer was in the first game, except maybe the guy with the really nice hat, but I can't honestly remember where he was.
Earth-Duna is
It's
here
nice.
too.
It's nice to have Elden Ring as a portable option. It means you can get tilted in public.
I mean, I already have Elden Ring as a portable option called the Steam Deck.
This is true.
It does not run great, but it do run.
It do run.
Oh. Jagras is bullying a bubble snake.
Where'd you find Jagras?
Oh, they have a turf war.
Oh, cool.
Jagras isn't even in that game.
Well, he calls Earth-Duna Jagras.
Oh, okay.
I saw a meme of what happens when Jagras drinks all the water. Oh,
Mizu. Mizu, my love.
With the people's elbow.
All right. So yeah, Elden Ring. It's Elden Ring. Elden Ring is good.
Yeah.
Everything is very good.
You do bring up a good point about the DLC. Historically, they have always included the DLC. I don't know what they're thinking it's going to be with Shadow of the Erdtree, though, because of just how flippin' massive that DLC is.
Yeah. Like past FromSoft games, the DLCs have been pretty chonky, but Erdtree is something else.
Yeah, it's functionally Elden Ring 2.
Yeah. Or as it turns out, it's the second half of the game now because you had to play the first half to get to it.
Yeah.
Actually, I will ask the internet. Maybe somebody else has turned this up. Let's see. Tarnished Ring. Tarnished Edition. Yes, it does include Erdtree.
Oh, cool.
So that's good. That's actually a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that's like 250 hours of content.
Uh-huh. And that's if you're competent at the game.
That's like,
or you don't.
Then that's then it's like
research
800 hours of content.
All right. Next, first party title, brand new. Well, not brand new. This was a launch title for the Switch, and now it's a launch title for the Switch 2, which is Daemon X Machina. The sequel is Titanic Scion. It's anime as hell. It's mecha.
Everyone loves
And I think it was actually done by the Xenoblade people. At least the art style looks that way. I have to check. What was it, Monolith? Let's see.
That's good.
Who made it? Is it Monolith? No, it is Xseed and First Studio. So no, it's not. Different team.
Xseed's a publisher.
Xseed is the publisher, and First Studio is the developer.
Okay. Yeah, I'm about to say Xseed's a localizer and publisher. They ain't a dev house.
They ain't a dev house. So yeah, it's a new thing. It's hard to tell what was actually gameplay and what was cutscene though on it, honestly.
And it's been like that for the last 20 years, Fern.
I know.
They always try and obfuscate the difference between the two.
Did either of you actually play the first Demon X Machina?
Nope.
I didn't.
No, it was on my wish list for a long time, and I never got around to actually picking it up.
Yeah. So I mean, it looks okay, I guess. It looks anime as hell. But there's always room for more mecha. Always. Let's see. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. The Meanwhile in the Past for Tears of the Kingdom.
That like, I don't actually know what that is.
That is the Dynasty Warriors style Zelda game.
Ah.
So it's Zelda and a bunch of goat people because Link is in the present doing Link things.
Oh, I guess.
If you haven't played Tears of the Kingdom, it basically opens with Zelda being sucked off to the past, phrasing, and kind of controlling or manipulating things from there. While Link does stuff in the modern day. So this is, I guess, what Zelda's actually doing. But because we really don't have any other characters aside from Zelda and the goat guy, that's basically it. The rest of it is just random goat guys. Honestly, as much as I loved the original Hyrule Warriors, despite all its having Tingle in it, the two new ones, Age of Calamity and Age of Imprisonment, just don't appeal, honestly.
Yeah. I'm not a big Zelda fan, and I only like Dynasty Warriors games. I'm not a super big fan of them. So,
honestly, if you're playing a Musu game for the story, you're doing it wrong.
Well, no, it's just like I like Musu games are okay. Like I will
I
play.
do like most of the games, but I just sort of missed out on the whole Hyrule Warriors thing. I didn't have the gear to play it at the time that it was really popular. So, and
Yeah.
I have very fond memories of Ocarina of Time, but that's pretty much the extent of my fondness of the Zelda franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
A Link to the Past was my Zelda game that dominated my youth. The SNES one.
Everyone's got at least one Zelda game.
But the A Link to
Mine
the
was
Past
Majora's
is
Mask. Can you tell?
yeah. Well, A Link to the Past is so divorced from modern Zelda that
Oh, it is.
I can't. I have trouble equating anything in that game to the current stuff that they put out for Zelda. So
Hmm.
they don't win any nostalgia bucks from me with Zelda.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
Zelda's one
A
of
Link
those
to the
things that
Past
people
all seemed
identify.
very surreal to me.
Oh, it's a
It was
trip.
it got weird.
Turned into a rabbit. Like
Yeah.
couldn't do anything while you were a rabbit, and you had to find a way into the dark world so you weren't a rabbit. For all kinds of wackadoodle items and puzzles that you wonder how the heck you figured this out when you were a kid. When you look back at them, and you remember you probably read a strategy guide.
It's all happening in the head of a giant fish.
Something like that.
Yeah. The early Zelda games
I think that
did
was
get weird.
I think that was the Game Boy Color ones that it was all a dream or something.
Yeah, was it Link to the Past or
That was Oracle
was the Battle of
Seasons
the
and
Windfish?
Ages.
Oh, the Oracle ones were a bit more grounded, but also had plenty of weird going on.
Are you sure about that? Because I remember those being pretty effed up.
Compared to Link to the Past?
Yeah, I remember those being pretty effed up. Although
The one that really got weird was Minish Cap.
The reason that the ones on the Game Boy stand out as being effed up is because they were on the freaking Game Boy Color.
Yes. Good times, good times. But yeah, Zelda's kind of drifted from that formula for a while now, and especially since Breath of the Wild got so much success, it's kind of drifted that way. I wouldn't mind them going back to the old Ocarina of Time style formula, which was closer to the old classic games. But maybe that's just me in the rose-tinted goggles.
I guess they're a bigger wasp on.
Where was I? They talked about their online pass. We'll come back to that in a moment. Duskbloods. It is not Bloodborne.
It is also PvEV. It's another game from their experimental crews. They're letting try weird crap.
Yeah. I mean, it'll sell.
Yeah, anything.
Whether or not it'll sell on the Switch too or not is yet to be seen, because I think it's coming out on just about everything, isn't it?
I don't know if that one's going to be exclusive or not. But it's yeah, anything with FromSoft will get people to buy it just from name recognition. But the thing with a bunch of these new FromSoft games is, at least FromSoft was
here it is. Duskbloods is an exclusive.
Yeah. So here's the thing to keep in mind with the current pile of FromSoft games that are coming out. FromSoft was up front with us, at least, and they told us the next few games are going to be really experimental, and they're letting the B team try their hand at it. So,
which is why we're getting the Elden Ring Fortnite and this one, which is looking like a very similar kind of idea, except closer to Bloodborne.
Yeah, but it also means
London and vampires.
It also means we're not going to have Miyazaki and his autism at the helm of these, and there's going to be shoes.
No, there's going to be less poison bogs, is the problem.
I mean, there will probably be less poison swamp per square inch of video game, but I would treat these games as from effectively a different developer, because any of the Souls style games not done by Miyazaki at that studio, he really is the lifeblood of those games. It's one of those cases of a director taking charge of a project and really making it his own.
He is the poison swamp that holds the whole thing together.
Yeah, the poison swamp makes for good adhesive.
Yes.
Rollslop.jpg.
So yeah, wait and see on these. They look interesting and fun, but they're not like Dark Soulsy because they look a bit more fast and arcadey.
Well, they're PvEVP for the Duskblood one, which means there's a PvP element and a PvE element.
Yeah,
and it's going to be multiplayer focused, and that's a pretty radical departure.
Yep. Oh, FromSoft games, the Soulsies, historically the multiplayer hasn't been great.
When it existed to begin with, in
Yeah,
their best game, Sekiro. Why is Sekiro 2 not out yet? FromSoft, please. I know it did the worst. I don't care. Make another one.
just more, please.
More of that, please. But that yeah, it's not good.
No.
I
Speed bag that monkey's nuts again, do you?
like
There's the praise.
I've never had so much fun learning any boss as I did in Sekiro.
Yeah. So yeah, because Duskbloods is an exclusive and it's from software, it's going to move consoles.
Yeah.
And I don't think it honestly even matters if it's all that great or not, because compared to what other people are putting out or other companies, FromSoft is still leaps and bounds ahead.
If it was a Miyazaki game, it would win the Switch 2 a lot of points. If it was a traditional Soul style action RPG game, and he said, but the fact that it's another B Team game, I'm not so sure about that.
If they just straight up slapped Bloodborne 2 onto the Switch 2 and called that an exclusive, that would do it.
We're gonna have to see how Night Rain does first.
Yeah, because it's basically Elden Ring Fortnite edition.
Well, if more specifically, if Night Rain's netcode isn't ass, and people can actually play it, because FromSoft has the worst netcode in the biz.
They really do.
Like he can make a fun boss fight in a killer poison swamp. That boy can't do netcode to save his life.
Yep.
I want to see Night Rain's performance with online connectivity before I make any judgments about the type of stuff the B Team's going to put out.
Yeah, but we'll wait and see. It's looking good, and it's an interesting idea. But yeah, and it's FromSoft. But yeah, it's not a console killer or killer app for me yet. It's got the potential to be. But yeah. Let's see. Where was I on the list? Silksong is allegedly coming out this year.
You should have. I took a trip to the Silksong Reddit.
Oh, you shouldn't have done that.
So before several trade shows ago, about a year ago, apparently, they started adopting user flares for everybody as a believer and a doubter. And
honestly, it is probably the most pure deposit of raw copium on the internet.
If you want to see what it looks like when human beings completely lose their marbles, like all of them, they're all gone. There's no more left. Go to the Silksong subreddit.
Yeah.
Is there a substantial reason to believe that this won't fall through?
No.
That it won't fall through? Oh, I give it 50-50 odds that it actually is still coming out.
Maybe this is Nintendo is just start bankroll the rest of the game and say, finish it. We want something to sell consoles with. Finish it.
I really if this game does come out, more than anything, I want to know the story of what the fudge happened here.
Yeah. Considering it started its life as an expansion and scope creep happened.
Well, there's that, but there's also, they were so good at pumping out content for Hollow Knight.
Yeah. And what happened?
What happened?
What happened? But it's starting to look like Silksong doesn't matter how good the actual game is, people are going to be disappointed at this point. It's kind of gotten that sort of hype behind it.
Well, it's become the Duke Nukem Forever of indie games.
Yeah, but nobody had any expectations for Duke Nukem Forever by the time it actually came out.
That's true. Honestly, the Duke Nukem Forever we actually got, honestly, is probably about what people expected.
I think it's probably better than a lot of people expected. Because it actually worked and stuff.
That's true. Also, you got a
No.
lot of memes out of it. So, yeah, Silksong, allegedly. Kirby Air Riders. Honestly, this one, it's basically Mario Kart except Kirby. Which is kind of weird that they're kind of promoting this alongside Mario Kart.
I played this at a friend's house, and it did not feel like Mario Kart. It felt like F-Zero.
That's actually better. I like F-Zero.
But it was like the cutest F-Zero imaginable.
Yes.
It has been...
To beat Wii.
Oh man, I'm now remembering how just flippin' long ago it was that I played that at a friend's house, and we're approaching decades plural. Might be decades plural.
Oh no. So yeah, this is Kirby Air Riders plural rather than Air Rider.
I think that last one was just Air Ride.
I think it was just Air Ride actually. And the other big game that they've put up as one of their big launch titles is Donkey Kong Bonanza, which looks goofy as all hell.
Why'd they give him overalls?
He paying homage to his dearly departed friend Lanky Kong.
Didn't they kill?
Is he actually departed, or is he just dead?
I mean,
because Donkey Kong, it doesn't really seem to be the same thing.
No, well, they killed Cranky Kong.
No, they didn't kill Cranky
from showing up again.
They didn't kill Cranky Kong. They killed Granny Kong, what her name was, because she became the save point in the third game.
Yeah, sorry, not Cranky. Well, actually, they've killed Cranky, but he just gets up again. What was his wife's name now? But yeah, she dead. She's a ghost and just keeps randomly turning up as a ghost.
You know,
Wrinkly Kong.
Wrinkly Kong. That was
Wrinkly Kong.
I knew it was close to Granny Kong.
So honestly, Bonanza's giving me Donkey Kong 64 vibes.
And I don't get that from it. It looks, I don't see enough of actual stage layouts and stuff in it that I can
Yeah, just in terms of overall tone, really. Because you've got incredibly goofy open worldness, you've got random objects with eyeballs.
Oh no, chicken.
The chicken attempted to attack the Arkveld.
Yeah. They've given Donkey Kong an extremely expressive face now. It's kind of jarring.
Donkey Kong is supposed to aesthetically look like a doof. I don't know if I appreciate expressive Donkey Kong all that much.
Well, now he dynamically looks like a doof.
He's like an active doof now instead of just like...
Just monkey.
Like that was kind of the magic of the original... I guess not the original big game. Of the Super Nintendo games. It was just monkey.
Isn't him just monkey?
There was
Diddy is small monkey. Yeah, no frills. It was monkey get bananas and jump on mad scientist / pirate crocodile.
Yeah, like crocodile has stolen bananas. Go retrieve bananas.
Yes. But honestly, I kind of like the look of Bonanza. It looks fun. The fact that you can punch the ground to completely deform the terrain is interesting as well. So yeah, fun is at least something you can see here.
Fun was on the agenda, it looks like.
Yes.
I finally get that tail off. It's been...
Also bananas.
Well, yes, if a Donkey Kong game doesn't have bananas, something's probably gone wrong.
Yes. So that's all of the new titles. They did a whole long list of stuff that's getting ported. Some of which is new releases, some of it's older stuff, and some of it is like, why? They also announced there's a new 007 game in the works, actually, in a roundabout sort of way, being made by the Hitman Group team.
The same
Still
Hitman
trying
Group.
to recapture the hype of GoldenEye, something they have never managed to even come close to doing.
They've tried a few times, but no, they've not even come close.
I don't want modern 007 at all in any capacity. I've seen what they're doing to that franchise.
Yeah, I'm not keen on that.
But Aristiel, you need to learn that this is 2025. 007 is now a black woman.
How much
Is that actually the case?
does she have revitiligo?
Oh,
That would mean that she was white, wouldn't it?
Yes, I know.
And only looked black.
I just
But,
Uncle Ruckus lives root free in my head. Okay.
Uncle Ruckus lives free in everybody's heads.
No relation. Have we broken those chain blades or not? I'm not really sure.
I don't think so. I think we just got the tail.
Sarkville being mean.
He's always
Alright,
been
so
mean.
yeah.
It's the only thing he knows how to do.
I won't go through the full list. They're doing a couple of EA Sports games, a couple of the 2K wrestling games. For some reason, the Tony Hawk 3 and 4 ports, which I'm guessing they want someone to actually buy them, maybe. Please buy these games. Honestly, that's a franchise that died years ago and should have remained dead. As long, did either of you actually play Tony Hawk Underground, by the way?
No,
I was never a fan.
Good,
Tony Hawk
because it was
games.
dreadful.
No,
It has some of the worst writing I've ever seen.
They have writing?
like
Allegedly. But that said, I'm not sure why, but they want to exclude one of the old school characters from these new Tony Hawk games I saw somewhere. And Tony Hawk just said, either you put him in the game or you lose the license.
How can you make a Tony Hawk game that doesn't have Tony Hawk in it?
You can't.
What even would be the point?
And it's one of Tony Hawk's friends who I think got one of the propped up on false charges and cancelled treatments. But because there's so many people in that industry who've copped that, I don't know which one it is.
I mean, I don't know anybody in that industry. It just seems weird that you would want to put a man's name on a game while he isn't allowed to be in there.
Yeah. Well, it's not Tony himself who's being excluded. It's one of his friends.
Okay. Right. I mean, I guess it depends on how much you sell them when you sell somebody a license. Like, what exactly do they get the right to do with your name?
Yep. So I'm guessing Tony's still held onto some of the strings. Or enough of the strings. Alright, so that's all of that. What else do I have listed here? That's a bulk of it. Then we get into the non-traversies and the controversies.
Yeah, because some of these are a bit more non-traversies.
Yeah, let's start with those, I think. Because people are dumb and didn't actually, read or listen. The first is the console price itself, which is at $450.
Yep.
That's honestly fair.
It's for a Switch that's going to be lower power than most of the other consoles. It's a bit of an ask, but it's not outside of the realm of what I expected.
Yeah, it's like on the high end of okay.
Well, it's whether or not it's okay is always going to be a product of whether or not there's like any reason not to buy the alternative.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to cart, aren't I?
And in
Got
some
me up against the
cases,
wall.
you're going to be better served going for the Steam Deck anyway. You
Like,
won't be able to get
as
first
it
party Nintendo titles, but that's it.
as it currently stands, they are still in Nintendo territory, which is to say, first party games are literally the only reason to buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that Team Roll Slop are going to buy it because there's a FromSoft game.
Why do
But
you have such a
other
hate
than
boner
that-
for FromSoft this week?
No, I don't have a hate boner for them at all. I don't have any strong feelings about them at all. I just find the word roll slop funny.
Oh, okay. It is a pretty funny phrase, admittedly.
Oh, Chatacabra. Oh, bro, you're trying to punch above your weight.
That's all he do, though. He punch and he lick. You're going to take that away from him?
Looks like Arkveld tried to take it away from him.
Arkveld will, because Arkveld's a jerk. So yeah, people getting all up in arms about the price. For what it is and for what's in under the hood, I think the price is fair. Fair enough, anyway. But to fuel the sparks of the controversy is there is a domestic version of the Switch 2 as well, which is only going to be sold in Japan, but it is region locked and can only support Japanese languages. It is also $100 cheaper.
Yeah.
So, honestly, yeah, people were getting all up in arms about that, saying, oh, you can sell it cheaper and all of that, and I don't think that's the case.
No, they could. They just have made a region exclusive version to give preference to the Japanese.
Yeah, the yen is in a bad position.
It is right in the toilet.
The Japanese market is not particularly wealthy right now. They are fundamentally within their right to show preferential treatment to their own people, and there's really not any good way to oppose this. It is a decision that they made. It's not like they were forced to do this. I don't think that there's any way to say, oh well, I mean, you couldn't charge this price to anybody else. No, they could if they wanted to. They could. It's about how they value these things, though, and it's not like there aren't like the graphics cards that cost $1,000 in America are $2,000 in Japan, just the same way they're $2,000 in New Zealand. Like, there are price differences based on region, and those are artificial as well.
Mostly, yeah.
It stands out more, I think, because of the region locking. The
reason behind all that, I think, is the launch of a new Nintendo console is economic steroids for Japan. Like, this thing is going to sell, and it is going to bring a lot of money into the country. So if they can stir up a lot of that money at home moving around as well, they're going to do it.
I'd love to get his face, but protecting it with his.
So, yeah, this is a non-thing. It's got nothing to do with tariffs or anything like that.
Oh,
it's
man.
just a thing.
Can I?
Oh, you've watched some of the Spurgs?
Oh, no, but I made an offhand comment you might have seen about this announcement happened the day Trump announced his retaliatory tariff plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened before the tariff announcement. But oh boy, did I see some people spurging.
Yeah, no, these prices.
I mean,
we're
spurging.
These prices would have been set a year ago at least.
Yeah, the Switch is an old system now. They've been developing this product for a long time. They will be responsive to market trends and so on, but by and large, this decision is not going to be a new one. They usually make decisions like, okay, so this is what the price is going to be under these conditions. This is what the price is going to be under these conditions, etc., etc. They don't just spur of the moment. Oh no, my tariffs. We need to increase the price. Like, that's not how it works. Like, tariffs are not paid by the person exporting. That's not what tariffs are. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That, and because we're getting so close to the launch of the console, a lot of the sales stock for the US is already there.
I forgot to restock my.
So tariffs don't apply to that stuff.
Never mind that the announcement happened before the tariffs, like several hours before
Never
them.
mind any of that.
I just the amount of dummery I saw with people somehow trying to find no, the reason Pikachu's costs more money is cause of the drumpf.
Because the drumpf. No, that's not why.
It's like, you people.
Yeah, if he makes a dumb decision and it causes direct problems, call it out. Don't make shit up.
No, he stopped. Jerk, you're supposed to keep going.
So that's that one. The other one is the new digital game cards, where you buy a game card, and instead of having a code in the box like they've done previously, it is a cartridge that you put in and it automatically just downloads.
I've seen people claiming that this is something that they already do.
It already happens. I can go open my Bayonetta box right now and tell you it's exactly how that happens.
The only difference now is it's automated. They've been doing this for a while because the capacity of the Switch Switch cartridges is fairly limited.
Yeah, like, is it good? No, it's bad. But is it new? Absolutely not. My Bayonetta 2 cartridge comes with a cartridge for Bayonetta 1 and 2, and the Bayonetta 1 cartridge is just for looks.
Yep.
There's literally nothing on that cartridge.
Did they actually even give you a cartridge, or did they just give you a card?
Oh, it has one. You can plug it in if you want. You don't need it to launch the tail.
Yeah. So, yeah, in the past, and even modern games that are just too big to fit on the cards, they'll either give you one of those empty cartridges, or they'll just give you a card with a code on it.
Mm-hmm. So
that feels worse.
It does.
Is honestly worse.
It does. I don't like this practice at all. If I buy a cartridge, buying a cartridge to own the physical game, but no game is complete at launch anyway, so the version 1.0 on the cart probably doesn't work.
Yep, because it's going to need the patch anyway. So, yeah, all this does is automate it, and from what I've been able to gather, it does not bind the license to your account, so you can trade it. You can give it to your friends. But that said, it'll instead need the cartridge in the system to.
That was a gold crown art veld, Vol.
No wonder he is so angry.
I thought he was taking a while to have all his stuff break and fall off.
He freaking bullied every monster in the zone, too.
So yeah, that is a non-controversy. It's not going to replace physical games anytime soon.
Well, the problem is that it already has some games.
For some games, but that's more to the limitation of the cartridges than anything else.
Notably,
except for anything made by Square Enix.
Yeah, so
because they're cheapskates.
Here's the other problem with it, though, and this is not a controversy, I don't think. The way they made these stupid cartridges work, they're going to be assigned to your Switch, and the other person, after you pull out your cartridge, is if you go loan it to your buddy or whatever, now has to reassign the code for that copy of the game to their Switch, and until they give the cartridge back to you, or if their console breaks or something, it's tied to that device. It's locking the physical game to the device in this kind of weird digital ID anti-piracy garbage.
Yeah, which when everything's working great,
pretending to be playing from the cartridge.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just
so when everything's working fine, that's not a problem. But as soon as things start going wrong, that's going to be an issue.
But you know that something's going to F up with this.
Something's going to go wrong.
And the second the authentication servers go offline...
good luck with that.
Yeah, that cartridge is now useless. You don't actually own a physical game. In fact, the game data might be useless for all we know. We don't know how much the thing's going to have to authenticate with the server. I'm very dubious of that whole thing, and just call it a hunch. Something's gonna f up with it.
Something probably will, or someone will figure out a way to either screw with it or ruin it, or whatever.
But none of this answers the real key question: is what do they taste like?
That is the real question.
Imagine plastic.
They did spend a bit
metal.
of time talking about how they improved the technology of the base cartridges. So they've got a little bit more capacity and they're a bit faster, and now they're red because they're faster. But presumably they're just as delicious. These are the important questions.
I clearly missed a meme somewhere along the way here.
Do they taste like Nintendo? All right. Okay. I think that's it.
Was I still really not following that?
Yeah, I missed this meme. It's over my head.
This is
You
a meme.
really did?
It's not a meme.
It's not a meme.
Okay.
Nintendo has for years. Nintendo has been flavoring their cartridges.
Since the launch of the Switch, they identified the fact that the cartridges are small and swallowable by small children. So to combat that, they covered them in basically it's the same stuff you put on kids' fingernails to stop them chewing it.
Yeah, it's a bittering agent.
Oh,
which has meant that people immediately lick their cartridges when they get them.
Admit it, everyone's done it.
Yeah, I didn't know about this, or if I did know about it, I forgot about it.
Go grab a Switch cartridge and lick it. Go
on. Hang on.
You owe it to yourself.
I don't know if it fades with time or anything like that. So.
Maybe. If you leave the cartridge out, if you put it in the box, it should be all right.
Yeah, here we go. This is appropriate. We got Monster Hunter Rise.
Oh, yeah, that deserves a good licking.
Tastes like hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some water. I'll be back.
So, yeah. Okay, and the last thing is the upgrade editions, which Nintendo has not been particularly clear about in typical Nintendo fashion. So I had to do a bit of digging on these. Basically, if you have a Switch 1 game, you can pay for an upgrade to upgrade it to the Switch 2 edition. That edition comes with a graphical overhaul, making use of the new system, and a little bit of content in most cases. Except in the Breath of the Wild case, where I'm going to argue that is anti-content because it actively makes you play less of the game. We'll come back to that in a moment. I had to dig around because what wasn't clear is if you could still use those games in the console without upgrading them. And it looks like you can. You can just play the Switch 1 edition on your Switch 2 without paying for the upgrade.
That's nasty.
At least good. Yeah, see?
Don't do that, folks.
But everyone's got to do it, at least once.
Tastes like hand sanitizer. Why would you do this to yourself?
I can't believe you haven't actually done that.
Not to.
Exactly. So yeah, games with an upgraded version edition look like they will still work without paying for the extra. But you don't get the extra content and the graphic overhaul to go with it. The price they've put forward, or at least that's leaked out somewhere, is about $30 for the upgraded editions, which is all over the place in terms of actual value. So on one hand, you've got Kirby and the Forgotten World, which gives not only the full graphical overhaul, but also an expansion pack, which I think is worth about the $30 upgrade. That's fine. But you've got the Zelda ones, which add not even anything to the game aside from the graphics. They give you an app which you put on your phone and is basically Google Maps for the game.
Wait, why are we...
It just shows you where everything is.
Hold on.
I'm not sure why you'd want that.
Oh, no, not that. Val, why are we hunting a chicken?
Well, I saw it appear in the zone and I'm like, chicken.
Chicken.
Uh-huh. Okay. Continue, Fern.
So expanded editions I'm not too concerned about, at least in terms of the cost to upgrade. The base game's not going anywhere and it still works on the system, so it's fine.
I do wish that if you could provide proof of purchase for previous versions, you could get a discount on the upgrade or even a free upgrade for some of these games where it's not very substantial. But
the upgrade itself is you got the upgraded version, which is a full separate sale, or you can just have an upgrade patch, which is discounted.
Okay.
I assume, provided you've put that game into your console at some point, you can buy the upgrade patch.
I imagine you have to have the game data on your console because
Yeah.
all of them will have had patches at this point that the system can check to see if you got.
Mm-hmm. It'll at least show up a flag on your account that yes, you've played this game. Actually, with their expansion pass, they are adding in GameCube games, and actually their starting lineup is really good. Soul Calibur 2, Wind Waker, and F-Zero GX.
How much is their GameCube pass?
I don't believe they've actually changed the price of that since they've launched it. Let me see if I can find that. Because when they originally launched it back when they added Nintendo 64 games.
Yeah, because I remember it being a ripoff for the longest time.
Yeah, it was. But now there's quite a number of 64 games, and they're adding GameCube games onto it. As long as they haven't moved the price too much.
Like, if they want $30 for it, it's too much. Because these games are over 2 decades old.
Yeah, even if they're really good games.
Approaching 3 decades old for... Holy crap, we're...
Why? I've got to dig for the price. Do I have to turn on my Nintendo actually to do this? Or turn my Switch on? Because it should be on their website, but it not. Oh, hang on. Choose your membership. Is it in here? Okay, here we go. Base Nintendo Online is $30 for a year.
I think it's like... For the base, it's 15 over here or something.
Yeah, so that lines up roughly.
But that's
year,
just for online play. That doesn't include any of the passes.
Oh, it does. It includes Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, of which there's a lot. Cloud saves, online functionality, multiplayer functionality, that sort of stuff. It will include the chat if you're so inclined as well. The expansion pass is $60, which includes everything there, plus Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance, the full Gold Edition of Mario Kart 8, or the upgrade, I should say, the expansion pass. Same for Animal Crossing and Splatoon. Also Mega Drive games, as it turns out. I didn't know that. So they're adding to that GameCube games as well as the upgrade patches for both Zelda games. So, yeah, when they launched it, it was like you pay an extra, or you basically double your thing, double your yearly payment, and you get like 3 Nintendo 64 games, the expansion pass for Mario Kart 8, and that was it. So provided they don't change that, it's fine. This is in New Zealand dollars. Hang on, why did that happen? So it's $30, $60 Australian, $70 New Zealand for the full expansion.
Yeah, I think it was like 30 to 50.
Yeah, which isn't too bad, honestly. It isn't too bad now. But when it launched, oh yeah, that was a ripoff. All right, the final thing, and the big turd in the ice cream.
Yeah.
Game prices.
Right. So
everything up until now has been actually pretty good.
over the many years we've done this show, the price fluctuations in value with our currencies has changed a lot.
A lot.
But pretty much since the beginning of the show, it seems that until very recently, it was a game would cost $60 for me brand new if it was standard, full game release, and it costs about 90 to 100 for you guys, maybe 120 for a few of them.
120 has only been a fairly recent thing.
Okay.
No, it hasn't. It used to be 120, 130 for Majora's Mask, for Final Fantasy IX, for Perfect Dark. That era around 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, very expensive games.
Yes, I agree with that.
So
thankfully, that era ended, at least for a while.
So in the US, we saw a fairly linear price increase, but it took a long time to reach. We saw 40 for SNES games. I remember those in the game shelf as a kid. Some were 30 to 40. The Nintendo 64 came out, and it was $50 pretty much across the board for every single game. And then when the 360 came out, new games were $60. And we have stayed at that $60 price point until just a couple years ago when it went to $70. And Nintendo has decided it's time to bump it again.
So Nintendo has gone directly from $50 to $60 games straight up to 80.
Yeah.
It's not all their games that are putting it 80, admittedly. It's their big titles.
So yeah, that'd be the equivalent of 131 Australian dollars.
A local EB is selling them at 120.
And that's the equivalent of 141 New Zealand dollars.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be paying that.
Now, I don't know how the currency conversions work for y'all on what they're saying these new games are going to cost for you guys, but we're well above y'all's current price point for video games at $80 US. That is astronomical.
Once crosses that $100 line, it's not only a financial issue, it's a kind of psychological one as well. Because you just see
that number's just too big and you get sticker shock.
Yes.
Yeah, this is now a calculated purchase.
Big way.
There is no more impulse buying new games.
This is like the inverse of gacha slop. Like they give you a whole pile of stuff for free, and then they try and nickel and dime you until you get used to spending lots of money. This is where they just say, "No, give us all of your money right now."
In a twisted way, I can respect that more.
I respect the honesty.
I do respect the honesty.
However, you have now at $80 US. That is now a calculated purchase decision. That is not something I do on a whim.
And yes, you can make the argument for just global inflation as a whole, but at the same time, disposable income has gone down massively.
Yeah, disposable income has not kept up with inflation right now, and we just don't have the stuff available to just go. Most people don't. I do personally. But most people, I imagine, don't have that kind of funds just laying around for video games.
Even if I did, it'd be like, no.
Just no. I'll wait for it to come on sale. But
I could buy 3 video games instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I could just be patient and wait a year on Steam for anything that isn't a first-party Nintendo game. And get 4 games for that cost.
Yep. Or more, depending on what you get.
How's this going to work with cross-platform? Like, if the other platforms are just like, well, we're not going to charge you that much. How are they going to compete?
That would be the smart decision. However, I don't see that happening. What I actually see happening is Sony and Microsoft have been waiting for Nintendo to make the move on this, or somebody to make an inroad that they can push this stuff with.
Ubisoft doesn't count. Yeah,
Well-
Ubisoft did it first, but the game they launched it with, which is Skull and Bones, yeah.
Like, we had a few games creeping up to 70 already. But going straight from 60 to 80 guaranteed on new games, that's insane.
The worst part is Nintendo almost never discounts their games.
Yeah, and
Like a lot of the games that have been on the Switch, especially Mario Kart 8, are still at full launch price or close to.
yeah, that's the other thing with Nintendo. Like, for most other game companies, I can sit there and go, okay, it'll probably go on sale eventually. It may take a while, but I can wait if I don't need it right now. If it's on Steam, I can definitely wait because, it will eventually go on sale.
Unless it's Factorio. Which is a meme at this point. Factorio never goes on sale. But, yeah, Nintendo, they have their occasional discount sale, but they're like 20, 30% off maybe. And that's off an already high price.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, during the Switch era, a lot of games would still launch at like $60 US, but I don't know, the conversion was somehow better because Australian dollars, they usually pop up at about 80 rather than 90. So it made it...
the post-COVID era, it's very, very difficult for us to compare our purchasing powers.
Oh, yeah, because everything's in the toilet.
Well, everything got totally out of whack based on how much currency your country printed.
Yeah.
The answer is a lot.
The answer is definitely a lot. And
Like,
this is what happens when you turn off an economy.
Well, it's even almost worse than turning off the economy was turning on the money printer.
Yeah.
Well, it's doing both at the same time makes both
did
situations worse.
Yes. And they did both.
Got his tail.
So that's kind of the trade-off. Like, if it was just the games following the rate of inflation, that would be fine. But while inflation goes up, disposable income goes down, and everyone is left basically at the end of the day with very little money. And yes, games are a luxury good, but you do need luxuries.
I need my bread and circuses, damn it.
Yep. And if one luxury is too expensive and another isn't, then people are going to go do something else. Unless it's alcohol or smoking, in which case, yeah, they're just going to do it anyway.
Well, if those things are part of your life, they are a necessity as far as your budgeting is concerned.
Yes, unless you're able to break it. But Vidya does not fall into that category.
Yeah, because we are not exactly hurting for choice with Vidya.
No, especially as long as Steam exists.
And while I'm sure the new Mario Kart will be the next new hotness for a little bit, and yeah, it could be fun for my friends, it's not
fun.
It's not for $80. I'm not gonna get a console for $80 or for $500 and then get because I'm gonna have to get the Pro Controller too. So we're looking at like even more. We're looking at like $550 for this thing.
Yep, at least you don't need to buy the camera because no.
Yeah.
But I have seen some people coming out saying that in some places Mario Kart is listed at $90, which, if it was just Mario Kart, then that's Nintendo playing dirty marketing tricks. But it's not just Mario Kart because allegedly it's also Metroid 4.
Yeah, like I love Metroid Prime. I love that series, but
yeah, I will consider buying a Switch 2 earlier for Metroid 4. But if the game is that inflated in price, I'm gonna wait.
And this is why I said that the weird data console ID crap is not as big of a controversy as it may seem at first, because in the past, if a new system had very expensive games coming out for it, like at the start of the 360 era, if I wanted to circumvent that price pain point a little bit, I could buy used.
Yep.
I could go to the game shop and buy it used in a few months. Get, $10, $20, sometimes $30 off, depending on the game.
If the game was any more than that, then there was something wrong with the game.
Or it was a niche game that they couldn't move off the shelf.
I do remember seeing Valkyria at like that price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are just some franchises that don't have a whole lot of penetration that not many people buy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you can't do that anymore. All the brick and mortar stores are dying, and
Yep.
Even if they did still exist, and you wanted to go through digital retailers, good luck, because I guarantee you some shenaniganery with that stupid license on the fake cartridge is going to get in the way of that.
Yeah, like you'll be able to give that to your friends and let them play it, but I very much doubt you'll be able to resell it.
Well, you probably can. The question, though, is where is the system going to break? Because these authentication systems have problems.
They've always got shoot.
And Nintendo is the champion of janky shoot.
They do like their janky shoes.
I just don't trust them with this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Actually, that whole talk about game resales does remind me. I got two very interesting bits of mail this week. The first was a letter from a senator wishing me a happy birthday. Which
old. That's like official old notice.
That is the official your old notice. I mean, I like my local senator. She good people. I didn't need to see that letter. I could live a long and happy life without ever seeing that letter. But the other piece of mail I got was from EB Games, wishing me a happy birthday. And by the way, here is your gift. It's double credit on trade-ins.
Double credit on trade-ins, huh? So you get $4 instead of $2.
Yes. So congratulations. Here's nothing.
It was on a store-by-store basis here how good the payout was. It often had to do with how much they had in stock.
But was GameStop ever good?
We had one that was good. We had one that was good.
GameStop.
Yeah. Well, we had one that was good, but it was good for its location, and that it was in the middle of bum F nowhere.
Yep.
And then they built them all around it, and then it wasn't the good GameStop anymore. There were no good GameStops after that. There's
no such thing as a good GameStop anymore. But EB Games is it is the Australian arm of GameStop, and yeah, they are bad, like really bad.
Oh, they used to be called EB here before GameStop took them over.
Yeah, they changed all the labelings.
Well, I thought it was called Electronics Boutique in full in the US.
Yeah, it was.
It was at that point, yeah.
But nobody said that. Everybody called it EB.
Yeah, and now it's just EB Games. The Electronics Boutique isn't really a thing anymore because they only sell games now. Well, actually, no, sorry, they only sell Funko Pops.
Yeah,
like,
I walk past one now and again, and I just see a wall of plastic tat.
If you look in the correct spot, they will have gaming peripherals and things like that. As long as you don't mind buying SteelSeries, which I don't want to buy SteelSeries.
I have a SteelSeries mouse mat.
Yeah, but I've just never really liked their pricing. Also, there was that whole Bully Hunters things a few years ago, and that
was gross.
That was disgusting. I mean, it was hilarious, but it was also disgusting. So yeah, they were doing so well up until the game prices came out, and those game prices, I'm afraid, are deal breakers.
Yeah, like this is now Fern has to be diehard playing a game and shill it to me super hard, and it has to be a multiplayer game that he really wants to play for me to consider putting the Switch 2 on the list of I might buy it.
The other game that's probably going to fall into that category would be probably Duskbloods, and that, yes, it's exclusive for now, but I doubt it's going to stay an exclusive.
FromSoft, if they make exclusives, tend to stay exclusive. Bloodborne is still on the PS4 and has not moved.
It is trapped, languishing.
Yeah, it is trapped in super exclusivity deal.
Something about blood.
Yeah.
That's a lot about blood in that game.
And I'm not I love FromSoft to death, but I am not keen on being the guinea pig for their B team.
No.
I will let the initial wave go in and report back.
Yeah. If they'd made Bloodborne 2 by the A team, Poison Swamps and all, then that would have been a no-brainer. And honestly,
if they'd have said
that opens the
Sekiro
door to
2,
poor financial decisions.
yeah, if they'd said Sekiro 2, it'd have been like, oh yeah, I'm about to make a really bad financial decision. But no, we got the B team game.
We got the B team game.
I bought my last 2 consoles on the weight of Monster Hunter, and new Monster Hunter just came out, so
yeah,
I'm
that's not
afraid
going to be a thing.
they might be out of luck.
Honestly, I'm actually kind of surprised that there was no announcement for a new Smash Brothers. They probably have to try and get Sakurai to stop screaming before they'll make a new one, but yeah.
He has got to be losing his marbles at this point.
Yeah, well, after Ultimate wrapped up, he said that, no, that's it. There's not going to be another Smash Brothers. I'm going to go back to playing Kirby, who is sweet and wholesome and doesn't have strange ideas about children.
Yeah.
Probably it's just that somebody at Nintendo happens to have stock in an insurance company that insures like stores that get driven through by Smash players.
What is with Smash Brothers? Seriously. Why are people so crazy?
I mean, Taco Bell serves a function. You don't need to drive your car through it.
No, it doesn't. At least not in Australia, it doesn't.
I mean, it does. If you need fast food at 3 a.m., that's what Taco Bell is for.
We have kebabs for that.
You will regret that decision in about 2.5 hours after you start eating it. But if you just are starving, I guess we can go Taco Bell. Because you don't think about the 2.5 hours afterwards. If it's 2:30 in the morning. It used to serve the function of, we don't have any money, and it's 2:30 in the morning, because they were dirt cheap. And
they were dirt cheap.
And then the coof happened.
Yeah. No, they tried to open up Taco Bell in Australia a few years ago, and I tried it once, and it was like, it's food, I guess.
They did open one near where I used to live. I'd never been there because one of my flatmates went there, and he said it tasted like disappointment.
Yeah, that's basically it. It tastes like disappointment.
Like its selling point here was it was cheap and they were open late.
Yeah. On the plus side, though, if we really want like cheap, good Mexican that you can use to shore up your retaining wall with, you go to GYG. They will sell you a burrito that is masquerading as a building brick, and it is delicious.
I see. Oh, but for those that don't know, that are somehow out of the loop, the Smash players are so insane that somebody got mad at a Smash tournament one time and drove a car through Taco Bell.
Yeah. That's only one of the many, many, many incidences.
They have a rap for a reason.
Yeah. But yeah, new Smash would have been like, that's going to move consoles.
Yeah, but the licensing deals that these days, because of how many crossover Smash has, is just gotta be a nightmare.
Yeah, especially since now they've got Square Enix and sort of Disney involved with Sora. Some of them are easy to renegotiate. Like, Capcom's always happy for crossovers. They love crossovers. But yeah, Square Enix, and even harder, Rare. Yeah, good luck.
How much money do you think they had to shove down Microsoft's throat to make them get access to Banjo-Kazooie?
Yeah. And all it makes me think is nuts and bolts never happened. Where is Banjo 3E?
The wind. Sure,
In the wind.
It will never be.
Wind.
Never be E.
I mean, that's kind of what ukulele is if you follow the developers.
I am still mad at ukulele for what they did to JonTron.
Yeah, that was dirty.
They joined the woke cancel mob, and so while I owned the game and played it, I did not buy the sequel.
Sequel's actually pretty good. Oh, dying now.
Yes.
Yeah, and the original ukulele was okay. It had shoes, and they're doing a re-release of it soon, which is supposed to fix a lot of those shoes. But yeah, they did JonTron dirty,
Yeah.
like really dirty.
When they joined the woke cancel mob, I did not buy another product from them.
Yeah. Which there's a certain irony in it. The fact that JonTron was voicing an unseen character who was stuck in an outhouse. So anyway, that is my time up, and that's basically it for the Nintendo stuff.
Okay.
Solid console, fix your damn prices.
Yeah. So we'll
But,
see, but Outlook not good, says the Magic 8 Ball for me buying a Switch.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, I can't see myself doing it until there's a killer app that I absolutely can't pass up. And like with the original Switch, that took years before that happened, and it was Rise. Without
Rise.
Rise, there was no me buying the game. I mean, buying the console.
Incidentally, go buy Generations Ultimate if you ever get a chance to, because that's old school Monster Hunter, and it has so many monsters in it. It is very, very good. And
I
it
don't
is
use the Nintendo eShop though.
Yeah, I've got the physical version here somewhere. But yeah, the eShop is clunky at best. Nintendo has never been able to design a good shop. I'm sorry, it's just never happened.
Well, most console developers design a crappy shop, but Nintendo's was next level.
Yeah, it was a special type of awful.
Because it was not merely just hard to navigate and almost impossible to find anything, but it just locked up all the time, and you lost connection all the time, and the server it was on was terrible. Like everything about it was bad.
Yeah, it did have a catchy jingle though.
That
You would
sadly
know.
is the least of my concerns.
You would know because you had to reopen it so many times.
Yep.
Yes. So yeah, they had me up until the game prices. It's just, I'm gonna get one eventually, I think, but that's not going to be within the first year.
Yeah, at this point, I'm gonna need friends to be playing it and come pester me.
Yeah, if they put out Metroid 4 at a decent price bundle and that might push me over. But I can wait.
I'm also dubious as if Metroid Prime 4 is actually going to be any good, and I'm not going to trust A1 reviews even from critics or even from fans.
Because the Nintendo fans are a special breed.
And because the game has been in "we promise it's coming" for over a decade now.
Yep. It has missed 2 console cycles. It was on the GameCube. They missed the Wii. They missed the Wii U. They've missed the Switch at this point. So 3.
I thought Prime 3 was on the Wii.
Was Prime 3 on the Wii?
Yeah, pretty sure it was.
Or was it on both?
Might have been. No, I think Prime 3 came out on the Wii. I don't think it had a GameCube version.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, it was just on the Wii. Yeah, it's been a while.
I keep forgetting the Wii U existed, to be honest.
Woof woof. Hello, woof woof. Doggo is telling me it's work time, so yeah.
Alrighty. Well.
Alright, so have fun. Say hi to Bubble Snack for me.
We said hi to him already for you. Alright, we'll see you later, friends.
Yeah. Later, folks.
Yeah. Right, we should probably take a break. I certainly need one.
Alright, I don't have a good way to break us as we are right now, so you're getting the break screen, and we'll be right back. And we're back. So we are now fernless. All the Nintendo stuff has been covered. Structure of the show kind of thrown out of whack. I don't have much of a...
We didn't even do the shtick this week.
So, yeah, we did the shtick, didn't we?
No, we didn't, because I always do the shtick.
Could have sworn we did. We'll check the
We've
tapes.
been upset. Yeah, I could have just zoned out and done it on autopilot. It's technically possible.
It's also possible that I just heard it in my head because it's supposed to be there.
You just filled in the gaps.
Yep. Yes.
Any rate.
Do you have much of a week to speak of?
Not a huge amount. Let's see. Work sucked. It always does. It sucked the normal amount this week. Next week is going to suck particularly bad, and the week after that is going to be apocalyptic. So yeah. So next week is the last week before audit, and the week following is the week of audit. And yeah, it's going to be rough. But you know, they always are. Unfortunately, laboratories get audited every year. It has nothing to do with how suspicious your tax filings were or anything like that. It's just about maintaining accreditation. So, yeah, unfortunately, we've got one of the most obnoxiously fussy accreditation bodies in the world. They are notorious for being sticklers for following the letter of the rules and not the spirit, even if the letter of the rules would make things worse than the spirit. Yeah, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. There's a certain amount of variability because the accreditation body themselves don't have a thoroughgoing expertise of everything that they accredit. So they contract freelance experts to fill that role during an audit. And you never really know, unless you've had the same one many, many times, you never really know what they're going to act like, generally speaking. And there've been changes to the rules of the audit process this time around to make it even more expensive and more useless than it was before, because government. So yeah, it's going to be terrible. Anyway, other things. Nothing from Blue Archive this week. It's in a downtime week basically. I think that the Trinity Aidoru event is going to be the next one up. I think, where Nagisa becomes incredibly paranoid because of various factions talking in hushed tones about their intent to put on an idol performance, and she, in her usual outrageously paranoid way, misinterprets it as some sort of internal coup.
As you do.
That girl really needs to relax. But yeah, there's nothing going on there this week. Star Rail is also in a downtime week because the next patch hits next week. There's been a bunch of corollary media come out. They are really farming people's heartstrings for Castoris because her animated short came out, which was depressing. Her Myriad Celestia video came out that was also depressing. Basically, she leads a depressing existence, and that's how they're going to get you to pull for her, I guess. Interestingly, the numbers at the end of closed beta were basically Castoris's DPS in her best in slot team that currently exists were mediocre across the board. Her output works in every game type as her main strength. She can more or less adapt to every type of target situation, that type of thing, provided that her damage type isn't contraindicated, because she doesn't have anybody who can insert weakness for her in her team builds at the moment. But provided that quantum is on the table, she works in pretty much every situation. The reigning champion of actual damage in their ideal case is still Aglaya by a large margin. when you've got her team up and running, currently nobody can touch her for damage. But her use cases are a little bit more narrow. She's not useful in every situation, but like her basically her damage falls off really fast anytime anything goes wrong. When things go right, she does more damage by anybody, and it's not close. That's the way it's currently looking. But most of the other teams are relatively middle of the pack. Acheron is slowly falling off, but still relevant. People are still max clearing with Acheron, but most of them now require Jiaochu to do it. Yeah, that's the way things currently look right now. I haven't attempted the new MOC. I'm sure it's designed for Castoris anyway. Unfortunately, I've had zero luck farming for Castoris. I don't have any good parts for her yet. No good artifacts, no good ropes, no good orbs, nothing. I just keep getting dross. My farming experience farming for Castoris has been similar to Aristeel's farming for Varesa. It's just a disaster.
I had to fall back on old obsidian pieces. Stolen from somebody. I forgot who. I got zero. 0 pieces workable, and I've dumped every scrap of resin I have into getting the cow gear, and we are still at no luck.
That desire sensor. Like, you didn't care, really, about Cloud Retainer. You do care about gearing Varesa. The desire sensor knows. It knows all.
Mm-hmm. Cloud Retainer's still level 50. I don't have the resources to level her up right now. I just wanted to get the cow online to goof around with her. No. Game says no.
But, yeah. ZZZ, I haven't played any of the patch content. I did pull trigger, and she required me to go to 2 pulls away from hard pity, twice, because I got Kaleda the first time. And then I got trolled by hitting hard pity on my my regular banner, and I got freaking Lycaon's signature W engine instead of anything that was good, or another grace. And then I used my 300 pull to get another copy of Rena, which unlocks a lot of her usefulness from what I can tell. Yeah. Simply because rotations kind of just don't work without M1. Yeah, they break down pretty quickly.
You might be able to get off and get a EX skill and a burst off after it beforehand, but her M1 just gives you so much more to play with.
But yeah, I haven't used Trigger for anything yet, though, other than farming more discs for Trigger, because I currently have a somewhat suboptimal setup on her. I set her up with Shockstar Disco in the short term. It's not really her ideal setup. It works, but you're sacrificing a lot of damage for days. Not really ideal for her. But since I don't have the other parts, using Shockstar Disco for the farming process is where it's at. So yeah, I haven't done her story. People say that it's quite good. I don't know anything about it though. I haven't done her events or any of the other events actually in ZZZ because I haven't had time. Because yesterday I had the landlord inspecting, which meant that I spent most of my free time during the week cleaning rather than playing video. So yeah, I don't know anything about what's going on in that patch. So now it's down to saving for Vivian. Genshin. I have completed the main story of the patch, and I'm just kind of a little bit. Basically, it just makes me feel even more appalled at the state of the end of the main story. It's like, well, this was just a better finishing note for the story generally. And it's great that it's here, but it's not going to be here shortly. It's going to disappear, and all of the people who come to the party late, they're going to end on Mavwika's character story.
I think Salona might listen to our show.
Yeah, I could see which way that was going when she was just a little bit too enthusiastic going in.
Now,
yeah,
she won that event like a full 10 bonus points by herself for that one scene.
But yeah, it was a better end cap to the story in Natlan, and it's not even close. Like they should have had Mavwika's character story be the sodding event that will disappear and nobody will have to subject themselves to it ever again because it's useless. It doesn't serve any purpose. But this is a neat emotional end cap to the story. It's not of great import in a lot of ways, but it's kind of tragic that it's just going to vanish into the ether like so many other things.
The little baby Saurusars are adorable. So many baby Saurusars. And we get to continue murdering them by the hundreds after this event for teeth.
Gotta get your teeth, man. But it's just so retarded. The whole affair. Like, why are they going to dispose of this content? I don't understand. I can't begin to grasp. What is the purpose? Why are they doing it this way?
Yeah.
It's nonsense.
I would not be attached to Wowo at all, who's pretty much the only character in Star Rail I have attachment to. If they'd have just flushed that story down the tube.
Oh, and if it was in Genshin, they would have.
Yeah, that's what.
But what's the logic? Like, you can use the ghost hunting event as a selling point. It's still my favorite Trailblaze continuance because it's a different tone to the rest of the game, but it still feels like it belongs. And it's a really nice change of pace from the regular drama to just like the ghost hunting squad's antics. It's just a great addendum to the Shansho setting, and they would have just got rid of it in Genshin for no reason. Like, sure, the sort of the game development event thing that they had, that might not have much to do with Natlan, but it was very enjoyable and it was flavorful and full of character. There's literally no reason to just dispose of it, but they did. Content's not there anymore. Nobody who wasn't there at the time will ever experience that storyline. Not without like going and watching it on YouTube, which isn't the same. In my opinion, it's not the same. I don't find very many people agree with that, strangely. I thought that it would be a more common opinion. But maybe it's just a culture thing. That there are more people these days who live vicariously through YouTubers. But to me, it's not the same.
Yeah, no. Getting there on your own after going through the story yourself and whatever little gameplays there makes it hit different. Watching it on your own screen.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know why they're doing this. They really need to stop. They need to rethink this.
That's like a full, 5-minute in cutscene of just the baby Saurusars being adorable that nobody's gonna get to see.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's so closely tied as an emotional beat to the main cast that it doesn't make sense to gut out of the game what feels like a major epilogue. But yeah, that's what they're gonna do because that's how they do, I guess. I also did at sort of Mark speed the end of Little One's story.
I've not done that yet.
It's sort of in the same basket as the main story for this patch in that it kind of makes sport of the official storyline. Like, it makes the official storyline look like some kind of sick joke. Because it has all of the things that you want from, Genshin, the adventure game. They're all there. It's sort of hard to describe. It's got all of the sort of the wonder and exploration and character and lore and all of the things that you want. They're all there. They're all there. Everything that you wanted there to be is there. And for some reason, they didn't make that the main plot. They made that other thing the main plot. But basically, it's not a complicated story in the final event, but it's better than the main plot, and that's not hard.
Well, I think it's just the main story just totally dropped the ball at the end of it in a truly astounding way.
Yeah,
Like, because the main plot, I don't think there's any problem with it going up until that last chapter, but something just went horribly wrong with that last chapter.
Yeah, well, the thing is that all of these things, they would have been determined in advance, one would suppose.
Weaving food.
Like,
Not weaving food.
Like, it's not as though these two plots weren't, like, existing concurrently in the development team. Like, I know there's probably different people working on that quest compared to other quests, sure, but it's how do you see those two things side by side and then select, okay, we'll make that one the main quest? Like, it all, I suppose, you can make that argument that it's, a prelude to something else more myth-arc centric or something like that, but these two stories were both present at the same time in their development team. They were hashing these out at the same time. This is not a random thing done by somebody sitting in a closet. The only real criticism I have to the way this story ended up, other than it's relatively simple, but I don't expect complex plot lines from Genshin most of the time. Like, I don't expect every storyline to be Fontaine. But the only real criticism I have is that there's so much lore, and because it's not voiced over, it's hard to follow when you're doing other things, because a lot of it is that type of incidental words over top of the screen while you are doing things in the world type of storytelling, rather than cutscenes. And the volume is so high that I honestly had a lot of trouble following the lore, because there was just so much explanation taking place. But the zone is gorgeous, and you learn a lot about what underlies Natlan qua Natlan. I expect, really, that was a 2-minute 37-second fight, huh?
It was a frenzied too.
Yeah, I know, but there's a lot of information conveyed there that
It was a silver crowd too.
Sort of, it's not, I don't think critical is the wrong word, but it is very sort of foundational backstory to the makeup of Natlan and its history. Well, what makes Natlan work? What makes Natlan tick? What happened back then that put this all together? There's way more insight into what makes Natlan Natlan than the main plot has. The main plot doesn't tell you very much about Natlan at all. It just has a bunch of sloganeering and following Mavwika around when she wins at everything.
Because Alona had to build her bike from plans that she found in the middle of nowhere.
But yeah, it's a good end cap to that story. It's not a terribly complex one. I think it's fine. I think it does its job. It's the story aspect of it didn't blow me away, but I was very interested. Like, there were lots of elements interested, like how the dragon sort of civilization gradually disintegrates over time due to being unable to reach consensus about anything, and them getting bitten in the backside by their disdain for humanity, and likewise getting bitten in the backside by certain of their numbers' respect for humanity. And, like, because you see on display at various points that there are factions within the dragon civilization who are like, no, we have to respect humanity because they have their own kind of strength and we respect strength, and if we get beaten by the humans when it comes to blows, we deserved to lose because they were stronger than us. And then you've got other ones that are just like, no, they're vermin, we need to exterminate them as fast as possible before they become a threat type of approach. So they had a lot of internecine conflict there. They're constantly trying to vote each other into execution because they disagree with each other type of thing. There's a lot of mess in that civilization going on. There's stuff in there that I'm sure there's heaps of deep lore behind it because I could only sort of pick up the fringes of it, but it sounds like Kukulkan was pretty much nurturing the destruction of his own race. Though whether or not he wanted that is sort of very hard to tell, because it seems that sometimes that he just wanted to burn everything down, and at other times he wanted to believe in humanity and so on. Seems to be a rather conflicted character, but then you hear about other ones, like one of the Lords of the Dragons was basically raising a human that she had recognized her strength and basically took her on as a foster daughter and raised her to be what the dragons recognize as strong, and the other dragons are horrified by this, and her response is, come at me, bro. You can't prove that I'm wrong unless you can defeat me in combat, and nobody did take her on. So there's definitely a colorful civilization there, but all of this backstory gets like fired at you like a fire hose, and it's kind of hard to keep up with. But there's the environments are gorgeous. There's a lot to do there. I think I clocked in that particular part, a subzone, I clocked like 45% exploration by the time I got to the end of the story. So there's a ton of other stuff to find in there that I didn't.
All I've done there is tap the waypoints that were nearby.
I'm not even talking about the same zone you are.
Okay.
This is more like the hole.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know about that yet. I didn't know there was a hole.
Yeah, it's called a volcano. Every volcano has one at the top.
Yeah, but usually there's lava in there, and you don't go swim in that.
Well, I mean, there is lava in there, but there's other stuff too. but yeah,
there's a lot of hamsters around that volcano, though.
Yeah, they're a nuisance.
Got that Silali pillow ready to go.
Yep. Especially mainly, I have to whip it out in the domain, because I've been doing that domain as well. I don't have anybody who can use the gear, but I've been farming it anyway because in all likelihood there'll be upcoming characters that do use it. So.
But yeah, I brought my level 60 Varisa in there on the first week when I saw the hamster in there. Like, if it goes pear-shaped and we don't get the dodge on the hamster ball, the level 60 plunging attacks from my cow are going to do more of that hamster ball than Mavwika can.
Yeah. I haven't had too much trouble with it. It's just a little bit frustrating when I don't manage to womp it before it can go into its ball. Like, based on the energy recharge I've got, I'll be able to womp it without it going into ball mode about 1 in every 2 attempts.
Yeah.
But every off attempt, I don't have enough energy to womp it before because I'll go in basically with an empty tank. So I won't be able to womp it before it manages to ball up, and I have to sit there popping up in the air and dropping down and popping up in the air and dropping down. Not the most riveting game mechanic I've ever seen.
If you have cow, it's a lot of fun, actually, because you just get to see the big numbers pop up.
Yeah, but you don't really want a long-term domain farm that is dependent on one character, or I guess if you've got Xiao, or to some extent Cloud Retainer, or if you're like, theoretically, if you're a really big fan of Garming, although probably the fire resist on that thing is quite high.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have the right constituents for that.
Garming's kind of like the poor man's cow.
Like my main character that pops up as part of combat is the new girl from Chenyu Vale. Like I have her, yeah, I have Lanyan built and maxed because she's cute and I enjoy using her as part of the team, and it basically makes my team immortal because I've got like 2 layers of shield plus Shalonen's healing running. But and of course any crystallized shield that I picked up. Unfortunately, her pop up in the air and drop down is diagonal, not vertical, so it doesn't count as a plunging attack.
Oh,
Very frustrating. But yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, overall, it seems like a pretty solid patch. It's not. The new zone is relatively substantial when you sort of consider it as a bifurcated zone where you've got surface zone and then you've got the volcano zone. That's actually quite a bit of area, but the volcano zone is, I'd say it's probably about 50% more linear than the whole is. Like there's kind of a logical progression through it, notwithstanding, going and looking for other things to find and solve. They also like funnel precious and luxurious chests at you at a spectacular rate while you're doing the story. Like you feel like you're tripping over them half the time. Like along that route through the main story, the puzzles that are important to move forward with the main story, heaps of chests. Heaps of them. So, if you need to top up your Primogems a bit, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I need to restock after the last bit. I've got very little left in the tank. I had intended to go all the way to broke, but Cloud Retainer showed up, and even though I want more Janson copies, I can't just pull it on a banner if I don't want the 5-star on it. I've already got them.
Yeah, I'm not so sanguine about the event, like the combat event thing. Like, I don't really like being forced to use characters. It's not really what I'm into, and I don't particularly like using Kinich. I don't particularly have much experience using Mualani. A lot of being forced to use one character where you like you're not forced to use that character, but the buffs that they give that character are so high, you're kind of obliged to. But it's a little bit, if you don't have very many characters, you're going to run into the difficulty of just not having quite the finesse required to play them efficiently.
I love Sharky, but I also hate Sharky. You need to. It is going to be very hard to just drop Mualani on somebody and say, "Okay, play it."
Well, that's what they do. You've played as Mualani a couple times during the story. You'll be fine.
Sharky has Mualani's damage numbers equally Nouvelette's come with a caveat, and its name is Sharky.
Yeah, there are other things that you can do to avoid having to make combat your main thing to complete the challenge, and I appreciate that. The problem is that in order to actually be particularly successful at that, it might take a couple of attempts to find out where those things are that you can use to get score instead of fighting all the time with Sharky. Especially if you don't know how to build a team comp around Sharky, then you're gonna probably take a couple goes. But yeah, and the combat ones, I eventually got all of those ones on gold, but the pure combat defensive ones, I didn't really know what I was doing. Like the one where you play as Verisa was rough because number one, I didn't know how to play as Verisa, and number two, you're using a rental character, so they're a little bit underwhelming usually. About 10 levels too low for the challenge.
Yeah, I got to take my Sharky into that challenge, so it was an easy gold.
Yeah, it was not quite so easy for me. Like I thought that maybe I was just being bad because I was tired or something, but the difference was night and day when they let me take Sitlali. Like I destroyed the silver one, like because I was only able to do silver on the other ones, but I destroyed the silver one with like nearly a minute to spare. And then went into the gold, and I overshot the maximum goal by like 3.5 waves. So yeah, it is just a difference in the character build quality.
Yeah, that
more than anything else.
And the Nat Lane characters also are some of the few characters in Genshin that actually you kind of need to sit down and learn how to play them well if you want to get any mileage out of them. Like, you're not going to pick up Kenichi or Mualani and be able to do a zillion deeps out the gate. It's not happening. Kenichi especially. At least with Mualani, you just turn Sharky on. Kenichi,
Every
cannot
time they
figure him
make
out.
me play Kenichi, I have to relearn how he operates.
Oh, I just golded that one with Mavuika and said Lali and said F Kenichi.
Yeah, I used Kenichi. I dedicatedly used Kenichi, and I got the gold on it in the end, but I did not enjoy it. I was particularly frustrated with Chaska's one. I got gold on Chaska's eventually as well, but I was particularly frustrated with it because actually just navigating using Chaska, because the entire thing is basically involves flying, but navigating as Chaska, all you need to do is hit the wrong button because you don't really know how to fly around.
Oh, you're going to put the gun away?
You've lost a minute of time.
Yep.
It's obnoxious.
Yeah, she's another one that's quirky with the way you got to learn how to make her fly.
It's not even about her mechanics, it's about the controls. It's like the controls are dissimilar to literally everything else in the game, apart from arguably the Kukasaur.
Well, here's whenever I have to use a Quacksaur instead of Chaska, because the controls are different enough between the two, I can't control the Quacksaur. Because I'll think it operates on Chaska rules. No, the buttons are very slightly different. I forget which buttons are swapped or don't work the way you think they're supposed to, but it's definitely different. Also, Chaska doesn't lose altitude.
Yeah. At any rate, it was what it was. Like, I think that there's some concept in there that you can work with. I think it needs some development though. Don't just throw it on the trash heap, but don't trot it out again as it was. Because I think it's a usable idea, but it needs some work.
I think this is a step in the right direction from the normal combat events, because at least they tried to be novel with this one. Instead of just throwing you in the combat arena.
Yeah, and if they are going to force you to use characters you're unfamiliar with, at least they offer you, and at least in half of them, they offer you some alternative routes to complete the challenge without needing to have the perfect team for the rental character you don't have. But yeah, that's more or less what I got out of Genshin for the week, and that's about it for my week.
All right. We'll go through my week quickly then, because it's mostly Genshin, and I'll skip Trigger story and ZZZ because that's the other major story thing I did this week. But yeah, got Trigger and ZZZ, played her story, did her event. Her event is another alternate game mode. Not as obnoxious as some of the other ones, but this one's either going to be... I don't see anybody loving this event, but I get the feeling
I've seen at least one person who autistically loves it on Twitter.
Yeah, okay. There might be...
They're busy posting their like perfect round.
Yeah.
Where they basically were able to start firing before targets appeared and go through the entire thing perfectly.
Okay, so there is one autist out there who really loves the event, but it's just target practice. And that's
well, I mean, this is the sort of event that it doesn't matter if it comes and goes, right?
Yeah, there's no story tied to the target practice.
This is not what needs to be preserved the way the Genshin events need to be preserved quite badly.
For Genshin, the story time I did put aside was for getting through the event quest that I've been putting off because I'm busy with it. I really liked the event story. I thought it was incredibly cute. And I liked every bit about their little play at the end. I like Mualani saying, "Don't worry, I got this. I know how to argue with people." Kachina, you big meanie head, how dare you? It was just the most adorable thing on the planet. And yeah. But I have not done the new zone. I have not done Oh, I did Varisa's story quest though, the tribal quest.
Yeah, I did that as well. I laughed my ass off the whole way through.
The fungus.
I even went to talk to Shishroom afterwards.
Oh, that's right, because it's they mentioned that it's a clone of the Great Sage Shroom or something that got disconnected from him and is now totally different.
I'm here to tell you that Shishroom doesn't have very many nice things to say about her dad.
Yeah, the Great Lord Fungus. Oh, that was good. They spent so much money on the animations for the end of both the event story and the Barista story. They look so good. But yeah, those will be there forever for people to
I
go
really
through.
appreciate, like, there's a lot of things that I don't not like about Netland, but I really appreciate how much sort of like physical slapstick they've included in the animations this time.
Yeah. The characters in general in Netland feel a lot more bouncy. Like
Well, they feel like ZZZ characters, I guess.
yeah, it's like you get characters like I mean it like in a physical way when you look at them. Like if I smack Mulan or Varisa into a wall, I feel like they would Looney Tunes into like a spring and bounce off of it. But yeah, Varisa's story is really good. Since that one's going to be in the game and people can go play it. I don't know how much I really want to go into it because it was just generally funny watching them have to investigate the great shroom sage and interacting with all the baby mushrooms.
It was a cute little story, and it just made, like so many things in this patch, it just made Malvika's character story look even worse.
Yeah. I thought it was from promotional images. I didn't know it was from the game. One of the gifs that Varisa has that's been making the rounds. I'll find it. Is actually from the animated bit at the end of her character story.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was just from promotional stuff, but no, it's at the end of the character story.
Yeah, they've really taken a different sort of directorial attitude to how they're going to present characters in Netland particularly. Which just, like I keep saying, it makes the main story feel so alien to the rest of the experience.
Yeah, they really just dropped the ball on that last act of the main story. But yeah. We'll see if they make any moves to fix that in the future, or if more stuff comes out that helps ease it a bit. I still need to do Bubba's story. It's on the list, but yeah. So, I suppose I was going to go into it this week, but it doesn't really fit. I'll just go ahead and describe what you're looking at in the other video I posted in live show chat before we go into the main Genshin topic of the week. I've been continuing to slowly chew through Asgard's Wrath 2 when I'm not distracted by yet another video game that has fishing in it. This is VR fishing, so I have an actual fishing rod. Because you can't.
Changes the whole game, man.
Does I have to go find ponds out in the open world that have fish in them and throw the fishing rod in, and wait for them to bite. Riveting gameplay, I'm here to tell you. The whole quest chain about fishing. But it might have one of my new favorite weapons from VR, and that for those that are not clicking the video in live show chat, imagine a rubber chicken. Now, stick a spear inside the rubber chicken's mouth. And now imagine if you squeeze the rubber chicken's neck, the spear shoots out super far away. And if you let go of the chicken's neck or release your grip on it, it retracts the spear back. And now make the chicken an eel. And you have this weapon. This eel is still alive, and clearly is not okay with this, as much as the fish girl, who he's the main sword for, is all sunshine and rainbows. This eel, as who she's made her primary melee weapon, at no point has consented to this, as far as I'm aware, and looks like he's having a really bad time. But he's also hilarious because you squeeze his little face and it shoots the little spear out. And what's even better is you can target loot in the area around for the monsters drop and that comes out of chests and out of breakable crates and stuff, and have him just go shook, 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 and vacuum it all into your inventory, one spear stab at a time. So you're just squeezing the rubber chicken over and over again to make him pull stuff into your inventory.
He does not consent.
No, he's you can use him as a grapple, because when you shoot the spear out, he's actually a sword, not a spear. But if you use him as a spear on enemies, he grapples you to them so that they're in melee range. And this poor eel does not like it when you just keep the trigger held down because you hear something around the corner and will start growling at you. But he is a very, very funny weapon who is not at all intended to be as funny as I found him. But he just reminds me of a dumb rubber chicken every time I look at him. Oh, at least he's not the squid. So yeah, I'm holding off on more discussions of Asgard's Wrath 2 until I make more progress in that. I will say, for one of the Quest 3 updates that's gone through, has caused the game to have some memory issues if you reload the same area multiple times. As far as I know, they don't have a work in progress for it, and nobody has a workaround yet because the game's about a year old now. But this has become an issue where the game has hard crashed on me a few times. Reloading the same area for farming, which you don't have to do, and in fact, it's suboptimal to do so. But I just wanted to get a few checklists completely checklisted so I could forget about them. So I was trying to farm some more copper ore or something, or tin ore. And this will just gum up the game's memory because it doesn't have time. The system can't dump it quite right when you reload the area multiple times too quickly, and it'll just lock your game up. Thankfully, the game autosaves after pretty much every dang thing you do, and keeps multiple backup files. So in case one of them gets frozen during a save or something, you still have two other fallbacks that are like probably less than 2 minutes before the current one. So it has paranoia saves and auto saves in there, so you can recover your progress pretty easy. And every time I've experienced a crash like that, it has not impeded progress. Although you shouldn't be having these problems in your video game. People, come on. I know we're working with experimental tech here, but come on. But other than that, the game's been fun, and I'll give a full report on it once I actually get through the game, which looking like it may be about a month. This game is huge. So if I put it on the poke edit over time list, we're gonna be here a while, because it's very hard to marathon VR games, and I just do not have the time coming up either with the way work's been going. Very generically busy at work. Let's see. Right. So the only other topic aside from the Nintendo Switch reveal that I have is the continuation of the Genshin drama. If we want right into that, we do not have an email, or we didn't before.
Yeah, I guess. I wonder if this is just going to roll on forever, to be totally honest.
I find it interesting because I've always followed the English voice actors, at least the ones I liked, or in paid attention to the performances I liked, and would do investigating on them whenever somebody did particularly good. But it's continued. So Paimon and her crew have continued to make fools of themselves, and it is not not helping their case at all. In fact, it seems to be going worse for them the more they talk. And the big thing that happened this week happened at the end of the week because basically most of the actors that were already being pains in the butt continued to be pains in the butt. But Risley's voice actor came out at the end of the week and put a very odd video out. So he confirmed in the video that basically the people that aren't showing up to work for Hoyo games are just not showing up to work. Hoyo games are not struck. Now that they've moved off of Formosa, there's no reason for those actors not to show up for work. But in addition to the cultural garbage that goes along with being in the California union culture, there may actually be consequences for all the union actors if they were to show up, because they were never supposed to work on Genshin to begin with, and he outright confirms this. And SAG is just incredibly selective in its enforcement of off-the-card work, because you're not supposed to do it at all. You're not supposed to go take a non-union job if you're part of the union. And, but pretty much every single union member does off-card work, where they work non-union gigs. And, the TLDR is, it is very heavily implied that the actors who are currently striking Genshin, despite Hoyo not being a struck company and their current studios not being struck, are doing it either because they're totally brainwashed and are striking in solidarity, or they're terrified of drawing aggro from SAG because they were never supposed to take this contract to begin with. So, as usual, the actors are tools. They shouldn't have taken the job to begin with. But also, SAG's selective enforcement of this, and just kind of willy-nilly, loosey-goosey rules with what type of work you can take if you're a part of the union, and whether or not they enforce it, is also a huge part of the problem. And I honestly just hope at this point Hoyo, the dream is that Hoyo cuts SAG off entirely. Every union voice actor fired publicly. Every single one let go. Maybe you can keep the FICOR ones, because they're basically signed on to the union because of the law says they have to be, and for no other reason, and they're not beholden to its strike laws and stuff. So they don't have any kind of that weird strike protection stuff. But all card-carrying union members, just let them all go. Every single one. I don't care how good their performance is. That stupid union is one of the biggest cancers in certainly American, but Western English localizations in general. Not just localizations, any kind of voice work, any kind of voice acting in general, is that union is the biggest hurdle towards any kind of improvement. And I would love for Hoyo to just get hacked off enough that they just flush it.
Well, from what's coming out of China, it sounds like the Chinese fans don't particularly appreciate having, because they're possessive of the property as a whole, and they don't particularly like the fact that there's these English voice actor prima donnas who are basically, they feel bringing the game into disrepute, because they're basically making everything all about the Hoyo games. They're not talking in generic terms. They're in, all of their clout comes from Hoyo, and they are functionally dragging Hoyo into their dispute as far as the what the union wants and what the union can get. And it's not really at all to do with Hoyo. Like, Hoyo already given them everything that they want, except for direct cooperation with the union, which, as far as I understand, isn't even legal in China to cooperate with an offshore union.
Yeah, no,
They can't sign that document even if they wanted to, and there's no reason for them to want to either.
Every single company that has a contract with SAG-AFTRA in China has a custom-made, fully negotiated contract, not some generic union waiver to get over a strike. And honestly, Chinese companies lately, I don't think have even been going through negotiating those, because you have to have holdings in China or get special permission to do any kind of agreement like that with a foreign union. It's not as simple as just, oh, sign the document. So even if they wanted to do that, they can't. Never mind that for Genshin in particular, because it's an international property in more ways than one, it would be radically disadvantageous to cut yourself out of every other voice acting market to only be able to hire a small fraction of the total voice talent on the planet, most of which is looked down upon badly. But yeah. So if you're curious as to, keep in mind, he's going to be given the union favors in that video, because he is a card carrying member and he doesn't want to aggro the union, and he is clearly brainwashed by California union culture, but he does have an even-handed approach and just is honest, at least, about admitting, yeah, this is what's what. Yeah, they weren't supposed to take these jobs to begin with, and that includes him. And the enforcement from SAG is incredibly selective, and it's why a whole bunch of VAs are scared and are continuing to strike, even though Hoyo isn't struck anymore, either by a voice acting studio or Hoyo directly. And I hope we start seeing more replacements, because this is not acceptable. To be completely frank, I don't care how much you want your union to get more power inside of Hoyo. You're a cancer that needs to be flushed down the toilet. Because I'm gonna do a thing. Click ball, cover your internet sensors. Blindfold on them. Because I'm gonna post something that is relatively true that I posted in the Genshin thread directly after stubbing my toe, by the way. And so I wrote this in a particular mood, but it got a thread highlight from the mod of the Genshin thread that describes the status of SAG. So you can go read that giant wall of text I posted in your own time if you'd like. It's in the mobile games thread. And yeah, I want this to keep blowing up and keep getting worse. I want Paimon and the crew to just keep making a bigger stink of themselves, so that Hoyo has to cut them loose.
Yeah, I think that I'll be quite happy to see the Paimon go, because it has gone far past anything to do with voice acting or AI or Genshin, and it's well into the territory of GOTUS.
Yeah,
like this is not a question of industrial action. This is a question of struggle.
Yeah, they've gone full bully mode on people. They've been on that since the beginning. There's now no illusion in the community that this is about AI anymore. It's entirely about union power and trying to force Hoyo to become part of the union, and that they have no reason to do so. Even if they were so inclined, going and getting a contract is a pain in the butt, and they don't need it anyway, because due to Genshin's international nature, they have access to every single voice actor, independent or otherwise, in and out of the U.S. Cutting SAG off would not limit their options whatsoever. It would just make it so they would have to re-record some lines, and that would probably cost a pretty penny. But
let's be real. A lot of the voice actors that are signed up to SAG would probably still under the table work with them.
yeah, well, yeah, and that's what they're still under the table working for them right now. They were never supposed to work for Genshin in the first place. They break Rule 1 of the union.
Well, this is the thing, though, right? You've seen a handful of the most toxic ones go loud on it, but remember, the bulk of the cast don't say a thing because they know that. I expect a lot of them are signed up with SAG-AFTRA, and they just don't want to draw attention to themselves, which is the smart thing to do.
Yeah. Like, they do not want to draw aggro from SAG due to its selective enforcement. Because they don't know who SAG's going to go after. Everybody does off-the-book work, apparently. Or off-the-card work is what they call it. When they just flagrantly break Rule 1. And work for non-union projects, and like they do. But because they don't know when SAG is going to enforce that rule, they're kind of stuck. And a lot of these people have been either pressured by California law. It's specifically the ones in California that are stuck. If they work in Texas, which is a right to work state, the union can't do crap to them. It does not matter if they're in the union or not. They may have signed on to the union to get more job opportunities, but the union can't tell them to stop and can't impose any consequences on them. If they're in California, though, where the unions have legal heavyweight power, they can potentially get totally ruined financially if they don't play ball. Like the SAG could make any one of them an example, or any group of them an example, and just take them to court over this. So yeah, we will have to see with that one. I have praised Paimon's acting in the past. I don't care. She's crossed the line in making herself such a tool that her personality now supersedes the performance, and she's got to go.
Yeah, it's a little bit sad. All these people who think that they're trying to get on the union's good side. Like, union doesn't care about them.
The union
will dispose of all of them in a moment.
Yeah, and right now, for all their grandstanding, I imagine they're digging themselves in a big hole with the union because they've exposed the union for what this strike is really about.
They're making them look like a toxic entity as well as actually. Like they had previously been able to sort of, you know, cultivate an image of themselves as being sort of working for actors' rights, but that it's in ruins if their people can't behave themselves.
Yeah, this contract has, as far as the Hoyo fan base is concerned, none of them will trust SAG ever again. Well, some of them will forget because people are dumb, but they'll at least now always be a few voices in the abyss calling out, remember what happened last time when they try to pull crap again? So I don't know what their plan was with this, other than just Otis going in full swing. So yeah,
I'm a little bit surprised that nobody's told Paimon's voice actress to pull her head in at this point. Like, surely even the people who agree with her, who are, you know, ostensibly on her side, would at some point be like, you know, maybe you should just withdraw from the limelight for a bit, because currently you're not making us look very good.
Yeah, she's always been a tool, but this latest escapade of just calling people out has been and just bullying and being a toxic little gremlin is beyond her usual level of garbage she does. And part of the reason Risley's voice actor got involved is despite being a union shill, the guy does genuinely like Genshin and being a part of the project. The dude just released a music video in Risley cosplay for a fan song for Risley with relatively high production values. So he I guess that's why he felt the need to step in, because all this was happening right as this big little fan project he had put together came out. He's also the dude that said, "No, we only play pretty ladies and characters that have voice," when he was doing his Genshin playthrough. So he's been cool in the past, and I'll give him the time of day for now, even though it is really hard to sit there and listen to somebody just shill for the union, whether they've got to or not. But for those of us that don't have Twitter to keep up with the constant ongoings of everything that's happening at all time, the next best thing we can get is a first party source just straight up telling us what's what from their point of view, from the union side. And so I found his video particularly helpful, even though it just came out a little bit ago. But I've been continuing to passively follow this story, just because I want to see this end terribly for the union.
Yeah, I at this point I'm like sort of malevolently focused on Gotus shouldn't pay. Like, I really, really want to see Paimon's voice actor specifically get burned for her behavior, because she has just made this into 100% a vanity project of hers.
Yeah, and we've seen so many other internet personality types try to bandwagon on with Piotbon, and several of the other ones like Candace's and voice actresses, like the food carver meal skill has just chain procking here on this tail. I've got 3 tails.
You only cut one off.
But yeah, I don't know what Hoyo's going to do. If I was an executive or an investor at Hoyo, and I saw the way my Chinese fan base was reacting to the crap she was saying, I would I'd be ready to cut at least Paimon loose, or maybe the
Well, I mean,
entire
it's a
thing.
big decision to make when Paimon's the closest to the center of the project. I mean, that's why she feels so free to behave this way to begin with, because she thinks she's too big to be cut loose. She thinks she's too important.
Yeah, and I found some of the more tepid responses very interesting from the fans, or not the fans, but the miscellaneous actors in Genshin, and that they just seem to have never considered that people might not want anything to do with a union that's going to take away all individual bargaining power from them and their own ability to take jobs. Like, the thought seems to have never crossed their mind, because they're just so injected with that California union culture.
Sneakers nettled.
Could be almost dead.
It was only a 2-star.
Fully broken. So yeah, that was the only other news story I really had that was of any substance.
It was overtaken in the latter end of the week in my feed by people screaming about the new Devil May Cry animation.
Yeah, I am just, I don't even want to think about it right now.
I need you to watch it. I need the reaction.
You're gonna get it a bit late. I gotta be in a very particular mood. Like the mood I was in when I hate Platty DMC Devil May Cry will be the required mood.
Boy, you've got a friend.
I do. And here carving all the little dudes. I had their fins wish listed on something. Don't know what. I think I probably got 6 tails out of that. But yeah,
Oh, you left me here with your friend.
oh, when the quest ended, it just booted me out. But yeah. Probably. I haven't restocked my items since we fought like 3 monsters ago. Whenever the last
My
time I
health
had
bar's about
bombs.
half the length it should be.
Yeah, I've just been sitting passed out drunk at the Gathering Hub. So yeah, that's where we're at with the Hoyo stuff. I'm not watching the Devil May Cry show right now. I'm deliberately just ignoring everybody that sends me stuff because it's just gonna make me mad. And it was already a relatively busy week. Like, I don't need that pain right now. There'll be a time for it, and I'll inflict it on myself in due course. But that course is not right now. Maybe you'll get the 5-hour Devil May Cry special.
I sure hope not.
Again.
It really does seem to be made in that same spirit, from what I can see. Like I absolutely detest everybody who likes this product, and therefore,
Yeah. Dante is the epitome of a cool character. He is when I think of a character that is cool, I think of Devil May Cry 3 and 4 Dante specifically. You know, when I think of a simple story with deep themes told well, I think of Devil May Cry 3. And 5 to a lesser extent, that concludes and carries on the story. But, you know, anything that mucks with that, I'm going to have aversion to. And there's all kinds of mucking going on based on the glances at my inbox. And I knew it would be. This is the same guy that couldn't help himself from making every character in Castlevania gay in Season 2.
well, maybe everybody he knows is gay.
Like, I knew this would be a train wreck. But the real question I have is this something that's going to be another one where people are like, the people that are not fans are like, oh yeah, it's good if you take it on its own merits and don't treat it
Well, that's already what they're saying. I think that at this stage they're just saying it to be contrarian, though.
Yeah, or is this a case of so bad we can't defend this?
No, people are defending it left and right. After all, it spends most of its time trying to dunk on the US government.
I mean, I'm all for dunking on the US government. But that is not what Devil May Cry is about. You know, Devil May Cry is the story of a devil that redeemed himself through the power of love and getting a connection to humanity and having children with a human woman and voluntarily giving up the powers that made him a demon and the legacy he left his two sons and the struggles they have to go through in life and finding and the choices they make, particularly when it comes to their own humanity versus their demon heritage, and how it's the humanity inside them that lets them draw real strength. You know, the kind of core lessons and values that can resonate with anybody. That you know, the good shit.
I'm pretty sure that the story is actually about how everything bad in the world is the fault of US military aggression and Christian religion.
Yeah, there are no angels or divine anything mentioned in the Devil May Cry universe. They tried that crap with Dino May Cry, remember?
Yeah, it didn't make any sense though.
No. No, the final message of Devil May Cry the video games is humanity, love, and family trump everything. And those are actually the most important things. It's not about misunderstood. No. Every demon not named Sparta is evil. Now, we don't know why Sparta went rogue, but there is not a single example of a misunderstood demon in the franchise. And Sparta had to give up his demon half or his demon side entirely and become functionally human by sealing his power inside his sword and locking it in a tower. So, yeah, I don't know where they're getting off with the stuff I'm hearing about it. I will inflict it on myself at some point out of duty, but I will not. It will be at a time that I can process that, because I don't have a whole lot of media left that I genuinely enjoy, and DMC5 ended everything on a high note, and I would like to keep it there for just a little bit longer.
I'm actually sort of I'm sort of impressed that the director manages to claim with a straight face that this is his way of honoring the IP and staying really true to the original lore. Like he explicitly said that.
I know. I saw the interviews.
It's very impressive how someone can be that delusional. That like, oh, actually, the only reality is the one that I acknowledge.
Like,
There's nothing outside that.
he's a California art director who is obsessed with prolapsing anuses. That is all you need to know about him. He is detached from reality, and whatever he saw on the screen, if he even played the video games, is not going to reflect what actually was happening on the screen. Just being real with you. Like, the message of Devil May Cry is not exactly hard to follow or hard to find, but these people are so delusional that they cannot see what's in front of their eyeballs. You know,
It's it's a sort of it's one thing if you come out as they so often do with the point of view, oh, I'm going to do a sort of like a irreverent new pastiche of this old IP or whatever. Like that's popular enough. They keep doing that kind of thing. This is a bit different because they actually claim they were doing the opposite.
yeah, no. How much swearing's in it?
Apparently quite a bit.
Because Dante almost never swears. He has a few minor ones in 4, I think.
I don't know if they'll put any in Dante's mouth specific. Yeah, I've heard that there is swearing in it.
Yeah, because while Dante would use it when he's poking at Nero, that's about the only time he would throw baby swears here and there. Nero could swear quite a bit, but part of Dante's cool factor was he didn't need to swear. And that's something that always jumped out at me with Dante. Aside from a few jabs at Nero in 4, he doesn't need. Just cool enough. So we will get there, but it will not be while the hype train for it's going. Probably it'll be.
I don't know if hype train is how I would describe it.
It'll be long after this has left the station.
I don't think I've seen anybody who's hype for it.
Yeah, I do not care about what the little man that loves gay people thinks of my favorite character.
Well, he thinks Devil Trigger is his theme song for starters.
Yeah, I heard Casey Edwards is still ropping mad about all that.
But I mean, to be fair, he also has Nero's voice actor, doesn't he?
Yeah. Because Ruben is currently not woke enough for Hollywood. Yeah, he is not woke enough. He may have the best mocap studio in the biz and have played Dante so iconically that they just took his improv lines and made it a cutscene. But no, we can't get that guy to voice Dante, even though he's available literally all the dang time.
Yeah, I've seen the tourist brigade showing up as well to say that this is a huge improvement over the terrible writing of the original Devil May Cry IP.
But Devil May Cry's writing is supposed to be simple.
No, it's not. It's fantastic. It's Shakespearean even.
I mean, it is
still my favorite scene.
Yeah. Is sanity the price to pay for a Netflix adaptation?
Evidently.
I will get to it, but it just hurts to think about. It's like I had one franchise, and I thought, as soon as I was out of Capcom, we're in the clear, and then I remembered this thing was coming. Oh no, they're not gonna leave it alone. Oh no, it's the gay Castlevania man. All right, I can languish on about this forever, but the fact of the matter is I haven't watched it yet. So, unless you got anything else, we might wrap it on, well, not on time, but with better time than normal.
No, I don't think I've got much else to say, and I kind of don't really want to strain my throat too much since it wasn't feeling too good this morning. It still doesn't feel good now. It's that weird feeling in your throat that it's not quite in your throat and it's not quite in your sinus. It sort of feels like it's halfway between the two.
Mm-hmm. It's making its way there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, folks. I don't really have any mail topic of the week for you. What was your favorite part of the end of the Genshin story? The event story, particularly. I've actually done that one. Because all the bits at the ending were adorable. I like to imagine that Salonen actually kicked the motorbike, and that wasn't just an emphasized visual gag.
I just like that it's got visual gags at all, and I'm going to keep saying it in the feedback to Star Rail that they need to go down this road at least a little bit. I know the tone and tenor of Star Rail is supposed to be less high fantasy and more space opera, but they could do with a little bit more vitality.
Yeah. Also, Salonen, if you're listening, please, tell your boss we need to know what the heck happened in her story, and we need to know more about that motorbike.
Yeah, it sounds like the next patch is going to take place largely in Fontaine. So I guess this Natland's over. We're not going to hear any more.
Yeah, well, they've had patches where they beat out of the zone for 1 or 2 in the patch cycle, and then they dip back in. We still have the Dainslift quest that'll be at the end of the patch cycle for Natland to go through. So we'll see. All right, folks, we're out of here. We'll see you next week. Sayonara.